And we're on! There it is!
Oh, happy Tuesday, happy Tuesday. Welcome to After the Cook. Oh, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic. Chris, how you doing today?
Oh, Mel. I am good. It is Tuesday evening, so I am happy as I can be. Glad to be off work. Glad to be sitting here with you. And we're going to have some good stuff to talk about tonight.
Cheers to you, brother. Cheers to Tuesday. Cheers to everything. Yes, sir. We got tons to talk about tonight. All kinds of shenanigans going down here.
Yes. Thank you guys for tuning in. I am Chris Shem at Titletown Griller. And, of course, the man with the luscious mane is Mel at Dark Side of the Grill. And he just slammed that White Claw.
That's it. Well, we got to get her buttered up here. That's yeah. I actually ate a Donair before this show, just in case.
Oh.
So, yeah. See? Thinking ahead today.
Lubricated.
That's it. Thinking ahead today. So our guest tonight, Dave Williamson, super comedian, does a barbecue podcast, Meet Dave. He's got some kind of water polo thing he's doing. I can't wait to ask him tons of questions about that. Can't wait to bring him on. He's a super fun dude. I did his podcast like a while ago. And, yeah, we're going to have fun tonight. So thank you guys, everybody, for tuning in.
It's going to be fun talking to him. Get to pick his brain on a couple of different things, grills, podcasts. I mean, he's got his hands in a couple of them. His Meet Dave podcast, as well as I think he's the co-host of the Tony Acevedo podcast about water polo. I think he coaches water polo. Oh, where to start?
Yeah, right on. Let's bring him up.
Yeah, let's just dive right into it.
Let's literally water polo. Dive right into it. Look at you go. Look at you go. Bunch of hack comedians on here today, let me tell you. How we doing, brother?
What's up, boys? I appreciate the pun right out the gate. You brought up the water polo podcast, and you said, let's dive right into it. I see what you're doing, Chris.
Fantastic, man. Fantastic.
Thanks for having me, boys. Thanks for having me. I want to apologize right out the gate for being somewhere where the weather is beautiful, and you guys are somewhere where I'm assuming it's miserable, because it's miserable everywhere except for South Florida and Southern California. I'm in Southern California, and I wanted to sit out in my front yard because when I'm talking barbecue, I like to show off my barbecue setup. But I didn't want you to hate me for wearing a T-shirt, so I threw a sweatshirt on to pretend like it was colder than it actually is here.
That's awesome, man. We appreciate it, and we have tons of envy there, just staring at you being all comfy back there. Or out front. It's beautiful, man.
That's your front yard?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, man, this is my front yard. I bought that Assassin you can see over this shoulder. Which shoulder is it? This shoulder over here.
Yeah.
That's my Assassin 32. It's about 900 pounds.
That's
so
awesome.
There was no way I was going to be able to wheel that into my backyard. And, I like my front yard, my setup being in my front yard because, I have a park a few blocks from me. It's a pretty active street. So it's cool when I'm up cooking all night long and in the morning and people are walking their dogs or my neighbors are out. I get to see them. Where in my backyard, it would just be people would think my house is on fire. In my front yard, it's a conversation piece in the center of the neighborhood,
I'm pitching that to the wife after we're done here for sure. That's it. Moving everything to the front. That'd be awesome. Throwing sausages at the neighbors all the time. That'd be wicked. That's
anytime I cook anything, I know I got to put enough on to feed the neighbors to make sure that they're all on board with this and no one complains about the smoke and everyone's like happy that I'm cranking it up that day,
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome, man. That's fantastic.
That's wonderful. That's quite the setup.
Mel, man, I'm jealous of your setup, Mel. I don't know if this is common knowledge. You've been talking about it, but you've been sending me pictures of that rig you're building, and it looks beautiful. And then when I had you on my podcast, you told me about your space where you can, butcher your own, meats and everything there. So I'm jealous. All I got is this whiskey barrel in my front yard because my kitchen's so small. I got to bring everything out to prep out here, and so I kind of had to build a nice area out here, just out of necessity more than anything.
Well, that's the one thing. The two kitchens is fantastic unless you hate cleaning, and then two kitchens quickly becomes a nightmare. It's that's the fun part of it. Like it's just like making.
It's easier out here with.
Yeah.
I just bought a grinder, man. I'm gonna start doing that for the first time. I never knew that I could just buy an attachment for my wife's was it the KitchenAid or whatever?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So that was like, that's why I love doing these podcasts, because just when you think you know everything, you think you're smart, you find out you're not. And so I kept talking about how I want to buy a grinder, but I don't want to spend the money. And my buddy's like, "Don't you have a KitchenAid? Everyone has one." And I go, "Oh yeah." And he goes, "Here, $30. You can buy the attachment." So I just got it right now in the mail. So
Nice.
I'll be calling you for some sausage making tips. Hey, cheers, by the way, guys. What you drinking?
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
There you go. I'm on the White Claws and quickly going to be bourbon and pineapple. That's my drink of choice. It's greasy, man. It's because I don't drink fruit juice ever, right? I would, if it wasn't for the lime and the Corona, I would get scurvy. So yeah. This
that's all your fruit and vegetable intake is lime and Corona and meat.
That's it. True story though. So
Gotta get it done one way or another.
it's funny when I post up a story with a salad or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that happens to me all the time, man. People always post on my meat posts. They're like, "Dave, we're worried about you. You know, you're gonna have a heart attack or whatever." I go, "No, guys, I eat tons of salads. Like, I eat vegetables or whatever. It's just nobody wants to see an Instagram post of that. Like, you know, that's not the headliner here. So I just don't post.
We joke about it every time. You put a bowl of kale up and you lose 20 followers in 2 minutes. It's like bang right now. They're just instantly hating on you, right? So I'll put it in my stories. I'll sneak them in there every once in a while, and I'll get like 20 messages. Thank God. Good job, buddy. Yeah, salad. I'm like, okay, calm down. You know, it's yeah. It's a good time, though. Good time.
So, Mel, I know, I'm sorry, I don't mean to like interview you guys on your show, but Mel, I know a lot about, you know, you since we've been friends. We follow each other closely on Instagram, and you've been on my show before, so we've talked to you a lot. But Chris, I don't know you that well, man. And what's your setup like? Where I'm assuming you're somewhere near Green Bay, since your Instagram handle is Titletown.
Yep. So yeah, I live in Green Bay. By day, I am a orthopedic trauma nurse practitioner, so I deal with bones. And then by night, I like to grill. So we have mainly on my Big Green Egg. That's how Mel and I got together. We're both on BGE Team Green. I got an open pit fire. I do have a pellet grill too that I'll use from time to time. But the Big Green Egg is really kind of what brought me into the live fire cooking and got me started. So I use that mostly, and it's kind of been my therapy, and we kind of taken off from there.
Yeah, I got to tell you, man, I'm not super experienced with the ceramic smokers, the Big Green Eggs and the Kamado Joes and stuff, but I know that they're great smokers, and I think that they deserve, along with probably Traeger, since Traeger was a pioneer in the whole pellet smoker thing. I think that they deserve a lot of credit for the barbecue boom now, where guys like me and probably you guys as well got your start like on smokers that were a lot more accessible to the public, right? And then now that everyone got into it and was like, "Oh man, these things are great," now there's all kinds of great brands out there. Like I have a RecTech. I showed you my Assassin over here already. Over here is my pellet smoker from RecTech. RecTech's an awesome company. They take really good care of me, and they have some of the best customer support and awesome products. But you know, now it's like 5 years ago, I didn't know how to do any of this shit, and now look at what I got in my front yard. You know.
Yeah, you know, I think,
and YouTube too. YouTube made it possible also.
Yeah, I think Big Green Egg and the ceramic grills are a good starting point for people, a jumping off point for people. They've been around for a long time, you know, hundreds of years overseas. But you know, Big Green Egg himself has been around since 1974. It's very versatile, but the double wall ceramic, being so insulated and efficient, does really well for our climates up in Wisconsin and up in Canada. Is that we can use those grills in January and February and not have to burn through, you know, 3 bags of charcoal every cook. They can still be efficient and kind of give us what we need. But you're right, I think it does give those backyard barbecuers an avenue to kind of get the bug, you know, get started with it. Hey, I can grill on this, I can smoke on this, I can do pizzas on this, I can bake on it. And then once they kind of get dialed into the type of barbecue that they like, then they can get more of the specialized rigs like your Assassin, or, some people really love the pellet grills. And to be honest, a lot of times people will come up to me and they'll be like, hey, I want to start off with a smoker. What should I get with? And I'd be like, start with a pellet grill. It's one of the easiest things to start with. It takes out one of the variables. You don't have to worry about fire control. You can focus in on your meat, your vegetables, and the craft of cooking, and then worry about the rest later. Oh,
A little splash of poo.
Dude, you know what I tell people a lot is I tell people if they're starting from scratch and they don't know whether it's something they're going to stick with or whatever, I say go on Facebook Marketplace or on Craigslist and buy a used digital smokehouse. They look like little most of them look like little mini fridges, like a master built or something like that. Because you could buy one for like $100 used off there. They're like exercise bikes. So many people buy them and then don't use them. They just throw laundry on them or whatever. So there's tons of them for sale always. So for $100, you can use one of those little digital master built smokehouses, and then you can figure out whether you like smoking meat. And then once you like smoking meat, then you can spend money on the pellet grill or on a big green egg or on something that's stepping it up a little bit. I bought a $100 smoker from Home Depot, an offset. It was so cheap and so shitty that I couldn't hold temp. I couldn't figure out how to use it. So I was starting to really I get the pictures that pop up from the first beef ribs I ever did. They pop up on my Facebook memories or whatever, and I'm embarrassed by them now. But it's so funny because on the post I was like, check it out, I killed it, and I was like, oh my god, those look terrible, But that offset smoker is just such terrible material. If you're buying a cheap one, that it's not even fun. But the master built smokehouse, those little smokehouses, you can get a good product and you can start getting good at cooking meat, and then you could step it up to learning how to maintain fire and heat and all that stuff that you were talking about.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's like we were talking about our last episode. My very first one was a Cabela's 5 or 7-in-1 smoker, which is kind of like a Weber kettle, paper thin, right? And fighting with that -30, and you're still trying to knock out a brisket. And I was still, you know what I mean? And like you say, the game has definitely changed for me a ton as well, changed for everybody. But that's a very valid point. Everyone jumping on the very cheap shit right off the bat, sometimes it's more of a hindrance than a bonus, you know what I mean? Because then it's just too hard to get anything of any kind of quality off of it. They get put off by it. So up here we have, I think they call it a Big Chief. It's like an aluminum small box with a tiny little burner and a little frying pan that you put chips in. And it does still smoke fish really good, but as soon as someone buys that, they're putting a 20-pound brisket in it. And it's not going to work at all. You know what I mean? It sucks. It's rough with those kinds of things.
That's when someone knows they need to step it up. If they get one of those smokehouses that I was just talking about, the little digital ones, or even the propane ones that are more upright, that's when you know it's time to step it up, is when you want to do a brisket and you're like, oh, shoot, I got to cut this brisket in half to make it fit,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's definitely, man. It's neat to see how everything is changing, too. The whole game is changing. I love it. I absolutely love where barbecue's headed. It's going to be some big things coming soon.
So, Mel, I know you live up in the Great White North, and you guys hunt your own game, and hey, you're like a mountain man up there, man, in the middle of nowhere. But Chris, in Wisconsin, do you guys smoke cheese?
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely do the cold smoked cheese, especially this time of year. I actually have a little pellet tube that you put in the bottom of the big green egg, and it works really well for smoking cheese when it's a little cooler, because you want to keep the temp inside the smoker, obviously below where the cheese is going to melt. But yeah, I mean, this is a good time of year to do that. And
I keep saying I'm going to do it.
Smoking cheese? Once you do it, man, your Christmas gifts are sorted for the rest of your life.
Right.
That's a true story. You roll into anybody's house with a brick of vacuum sealed smoked anything cheese, and you're good. You're solid. Oh, perfect. We're going to save this for later. Hope you don't mind us cracking it out. Yeah, it's all right. Throw it in the freezer. Save it for yourselves. Late at night.
Smoked Smoked cheese, smoked almonds, smoked salt, and smoked ice are things I keep saying I'm going to try. It seem easy enough, but I just never get around to it.
Smoked coffee beans. Get that on the
someone
list,
just told
man.
me about that recently, dude.
Yeah, get that on the list.
Here's the thing, too, man. When life is normal, I travel all over the country and perform, at comedy clubs. And a big revenue stream for comedians is selling merch, So everyone's got a CD that they made that they're trying to sell, and then a T-shirt with that corresponds with some joke they have, and then they're stuck telling that same joke for 5 years because the T-shirt sells real well, And it's like so boring to like sell that same shit, and like you feel dirty doing it because all you want to do is like work on your art form. But since I'm known for the barbecue thing now, and it's fun to sell something you're proud of, like I got to before the dates start ramping back up, I got to figure out some of that stuff to sell as merch. So if I could package smoked almonds, smoked salt, smoked coffee beans, and say, hey, this is from MEATDAVE headquarters out in El Segundo, California, I think that merch would sell really good. What I do have coming down the pipeline that I'm excited about is I got a rub. I know everyone in the world's got their own rub, but I finally got my own rub coming out. Company, we worked out my recipe, and I'm getting the labels made. And so whenever I start touring again, hopefully I'll have rubs to sell. And I'm excited about that, like not necessarily just to have something to sell, but because so many people ask me about rubs. Like it's the number one question I get on Instagram is like, what kind of rub did you put on that? What kind of rub did you put on? And I go, the same rub I put on everything, because you figure out what you like and you stick with it, And so I have, my all-purpose rub coming out. And then that way when someone asks me, I'm happy to tell them, but it's a lot easier just to put a link to buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's a fantastic idea. That'll really kind of set you apart with having, being able to sell your product or your rub and, saying, hey, this is what I'm going to use for, beef short ribs, or this is what I use for, steaks, and being able to then sell that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So speaking of branding, by the way, I got to give Mel a shout out, dude. I didn't realize it at first, but it hit me after a while. I go, oh, Mel did this on purpose. Mel's got a really cool barbecue logo, right? And he has it tattooed on his hand. So now on his Instagram videos, whenever he reaches in and opens up his smoker lid, his branding's right there in the Instagram post. And I know he totally did that on purpose.
It legit, that's exactly why I was like, what can I do? Because I don't like putting thumbnails on everything. And you know how this game works, right? Everyone's jacking everything. Well, you'll notice in my slice videos where everyone likes to put their fancy black gloves on, I'm still like, just, right across the camera. Just yeah, I do it.
I don't think my wife will let me do them. I don't think my wife will let me do a MEATDAVE logo on my hand, but maybe I could get away with the knuckles, like the MEATDAVE right across there.
There you go.
That's it.
That's perfect.
That's hilarious.
Hey, I'm gonna kill this light back here. It looks like it's washing out my backdrop. You guys just chat amongst yourself for 5 seconds.
No problem. When he comes back, I can't wait to ask him about California. Wouldn't that be fun? Maybe we could ask him what he does for fun. That's grilling us on our own cooking show. Listen to this.
Oh, that's much better. I like the background better now.
Cool. Here, I'm going to move this one too. Hang on. Now, I know it's like 1 a.m. there, but it just got dark here, so I'm rearranging everything, guys.
So everybody didn't get to what
there
Mel
we
was
go.
pouring, but Mel was pouring himself a nice big glass of Weller Reserve tonight, sipping on that good bourbon there. So cheers to Mel with that. Dave, why don't you tell us what has he got now?
There you go.
Okay.
This is a whiskey distillery, right? This is a whiskey distillery right down the street from my house in El Segundo called R6. And I got to be buddies with him because I put on comedy shows in his really cool little tap room, right? So we started talking one day, and we decided to make a collab because I was going to cure some bacon for the first time ever. So he walks over and pours me this bottle right here of some whiskey straight out the cask. I mean, it was strong. So I cured it, and then I soaked it in whiskey for a few days, and I made bourbon bacon. And so then I took it and I came over to his house, over to his distillery with a cast iron skillet and and the bacon, and we fried up a bunch of the bourbon bacon for his employees, right? And it was awesome. It was so good. So then he took the bacon fat, and I had a bunch of bacon fat at my house still too, and then he made Dave's bacon washed bourbon, in the distillery there. So then he has a bacon bourbon old fashioned that they were serving for a while there that we made. So it was just like it was a collab that we just kept flipping.
Yeah. No, that's
so they got good whiskey anyways.
I've seen that with bourbon and brisket, right? Same deal. And they save the brisket essence, if you will, and then reincorporate it into the bourbon, and that's. And you know what? I'll take my bourbon or my brisket grease any which way I can get it. I don't mind.
Rub a little bit on here.
Oh, yeah, that's. And no joke, those horror stories of me at the casino at 3:00 in the morning, and I just reek of hickory and meat. It's still to this day, man.
Yeah.
The old cougars are like, I'm just gonna stand next to you for the rest of the night. I'm like, if you're buying, you can literally just climb right up in here. We're fine. It's fantastic. I miss those days. Let me tell you.
You mentioned that I'm a water polo coach and I love water polo, and I played growing up and everything in college, and so that was my passion for the first half of my life, and I smelled like chlorine 24/7, all week, all year long. I just could not, even if I wasn't in the pool for a few days, it was still in my pores. I smelled like chlorine all the time. And it's funny because I don't smell like chlorine anymore because I coach. I don't get in the pool as much. But now I smell like smoke. I smell like hickory smoke or apple or whatever I'm using. I just smell like it all the time. Can't get it out of my hair.
That's how I scored my beautiful robe. My robe stinks of bourbon and brisket. I can't wear this anymore. I'm like, yoink, we're good. This is victory one. That's it.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
So Dave, why don't you tell us a little bit about your Meet Dave podcast?
So my Meet Dave podcast is a giant sham that I stumbled into because since I love comedy so much, and I love talking about. I love barbecue so much, and I travel a lot for comedy. And part of the reason why I got into barbecue is because I just like eating it, right? Not necessarily cooking it. So when I travel around the country, I would seek out the best barbecue restaurant in every town, and I would end up, in order to do that, I'd have to talk barbecue with people. I'd go up on stage on Thursday, and on stage I'd have Hazzler and be like, "Hey guys, I really like barbecue. Where's a good barbecue?" And everyone's got an opinion in most towns. So then after the show, the audience members would come up and chat with me and tell me which places I should go and whatever. And then once I started cooking it, and I started putting it on Instagram, I go to the comedy clubs here in town, and all the other comics, whereas normally we have a very generic conversation about like, "Oh, you doing a spot tonight? Or you just hanging out? You've been on the road lately? What's been going? What's going on?" And we have the same conversation. I noticed people, all they wanted to do was talk to me about barbecue. Hey man, how'd you cook those ribs? What kind of smoker is that? How long does that take? So I was like, well, shit, if people want to talk barbecue with me, I'm down with that. Let's do it. So I started the podcast. Since I was like, if people want to talk barbecue, let's talk barbecue. And then it worked out good because I go on the road and I would reach out to barbecue people and be like, hey, I'm in the road performing at so-and-so comedy club. Can I come by and interview you for, on Saturday at lunchtime? And they'd always be like, yeah, cool, no worries. So then I'd get free lunch because since I'm interviewing them, they're like, hey, man, let's take care of you. They'd load me up with barbecue. I get free shirts and free hats. And then I also made friends out of it because I'd sit there and talk to someone about their restaurant that they're passionate about. And then I'd give them, I'd almost always invite them out to the club that night and be like, hey, why don't you guys come up to the club? I'll give you free tickets. So I'd come see them do their thing. They'd come see me do my thing. And it was a way to make friends in the barbecue community all over the country. And I also was just hungry to learn. I was still kind of a rookie. I was a couple of years into smoking meat. So it was a way for me to ask the questions I wanted to ask to the people that I respected. And it's funny, man, because I work with some of the most famous people in the entertainment industry on a nightly basis. and I don't get too starstruck with like entertainers, like never really have. But I like pit masters are my heroes, you know. Like I respect and I know what they go through to cook barbecue at volume and to do it at a high level and the struggle. So like I really meet these guys and I'm more starstruck to meet pit masters than I am to meet movie stars.
That's awesome. You know, and that's a great way to kind of learn, is being able to, you know, not necessarily have to do it this way, but when you can actually go there, you can see their pits, see their setup, see exactly what they're talking about and how they do their craft. You know, kind of a peek behind the curtain.
Yeah.
It's a big deal too when you're getting into these big places, and you've been to a couple of them, right? You get in the back and they got Mobergs and stuff like that. That's heavy, man. That's when you get to see under that skirt,
dude, it's crazy.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. The most impressive place I've been was probably like that, because I've interviewed some guys over Zoom now with everything going on now. But when I was doing them in person, probably the coolest place I physically was John Lewis's place in Savannah, Georgia, because he has like 4,000-gallon pits, like all in a row. I mean, it's overwhelming. And then he's got it might even be a 1,500, to be honest. I mean, these are just giant pits, and they're all in a row. It looks like a submarine station, you know, like an underground, like evil person's lair. And then they have a separate gravity fed, which is like a bank vault looking one that's about 6 times the size of that one over my shoulder. And that one's only for sausage. And then he's got a 5th big giant propane tank one that he rolls in for the outdoors if they're doing like a special event or a festival or something. So that was really cool to see, man. Awesome. And then, you know, like another cool guest I had was Art Smith, who was Oprah's personal chef for over 10 years. And, you know, I just messaged him on Instagram, and, you know, he's a pretty big celebrity and a really successful restaurateur, and he owns a barbecue restaurant in Chicago. So I was just rolling into town doing shows with Bert at the Chicago Theater, and I messaged him and told him who I was and asked him if he had the time. And he goes, well, I live in Florida. He goes, but I'm flying into Chicago right now for a meeting, actually. He's like, I can meet you at 6 if you want to have dinner. So I met him at 6 at his restaurant. We ate dinner. He told me some awesome stories about working for Oprah, cooking for, you know, Nelson Mandela, and going and doing speaking engagements with Michelle Obama, and just so many cool stories this guy had. And then I hopped in an Uber, and he sent me with 2 tote bags of barbecue for Bert and all the guys that we travel with. And I'm telling you, I rolled into the Chicago Theater, and about 20 seconds later, I was on stage performing for 2,000 people. So I'm just like, man, what a world, man, where I get to hang out with someone in the barbecue world that I respect, and then 5 seconds later get to do something I love, like make that many people laugh in a cool venue like that, you know?
Yeah. The question is, was there any barbecue left over for you afterwards?
I had already stuffed my face, man.
Okay.
And we always have plenty left over, because people usually hook us up with a lot, and then, you know, when it starts happening, when you get them like every day in different cities, it starts like overflowing. And then I'm cooking usually when we're on the tour bus too. I'm usually throwing a Wagyu brisket in, or pork ribs, or chicken wings. I like to cook as we go. So we normally have no shortage of food.
I'm always watching, man. I'm always watching when you're right next to the tour bus and you got something cracked open. I'm all, yeah, that's so wicked. I'm not going to lie, man. The next time you guys are in Calgary, if you're cooking something, I might hop a fence and just jack it right off your smoker just for a story. Be hilarious. Man. That's
Mel, you don't have to, buddy. You're my friend. You could just say, Dave, I'm coming down. I'll invite you in then. But that RecTech 340 is what we take with us in the tour bus, and that's how I got kind of had a relationship going with RecTech. Is they came out to a show, and when we were in Atlanta, and because they're based in Georgia, and they brought us a 340 to put in the tour bus, and then, you know, I hit it off with them because they were backstage after the show, and, you know, I just want to talk barbecue with them and smokers, and I didn't have a lot of experience with pellet smokers, but the pellet smoker is perfect for traveling and pulling it out and throwing it up. And then, you know, if I got to take a nap, or if I got to throw it out and go to a show, then obviously you don't have to worry about a fire or fire hazards with the bus or city. Because sometimes we'll be in like downtown Tampa, and I got it set up on the sidewalk outside the theater, So I couldn't be out there with logs and a fire. That wouldn't get shut down real quick. And one time I was on stage at the Tampa Theater, and I had been cooking a brisket for about 12 hours, and it was right about ready to pull. But I had to go on stage, so I couldn't like babysit it, and I did not want to overshoot it, So I go on stage and I throw my phone down on the stool with the RecTech app open, and I'm in the middle of my set, and I keep glancing over, and I look over and I see the brisket's at 203, and I just reach over and I hit the power button to turn the smoker off, and I just keep going with my set. I'm like, I'm smoking meat. I'm smoking meat and performing for 1,500 people right now.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
The show must go on.
Yeah.
Show must go on.
That's fantastic. And like you said, the RecTech pellet grill, it's easy to control. You don't have to babysit it. And I will tell you the one thing that I can say about RecTech is I've got quite a few buddies that have one, but their customer service, phenomenal.
Second to none. Yeah, second to none, man. Yeah, they're really great with that. They're good dudes. Like I said, I got to hang out with them when I was there, so I know them personally. They're great dudes. But I see on the Facebook pages, everybody agrees. Everyone's like, "Oh man, had an issue. RecTech fixed it." And yeah, it's which I appreciate, because I grew up in the car business, and in the car business, we had Saturn stores. Saturn, like that was the whole business plan, was that you were supposed to go above and beyond for customer service. So that's been instilled in me since I was a little kid, and I appreciate like RecTech kind of having that same vibe.
Yeah. Well, we got a friend who's like a RecTech neighbor, just down the street from his place is where and he was one of the, we're not going to get into it, but he was one of the first people to get the wildfire or whatever that machine was. We got to see it. Yeah, that's right. Oh, it was so cool, man.
I got the wildfire right there, buddy.
Oh, yep. Wicked.
That's the wildfire Santa Maria Grill.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that's one. As soon as I saw it, I was like, right there. I was like, okay. Actually, a buddy of mine in Calgary, he actually got that great big RecTech grill shipped all the way up here. He did it all himself, worked it out with shipping and everything just to get it, because he loved the horns, and then he loved everything else about it. But very cool unit, man. Very cool.
Man, the horns are good branding. They were smart with that for sure.
Yeah, that's in Alberta, right? That's what we do. So it's a big deal. It's
so the thing with the wildfire, or the wild side, if people don't know, is it's a Santa Maria grill. So you got the grill grate, and you're cooking with coals, but you can also throw some wood down there to get wood flavor if you're doing a tomahawk or something, right? And it's got technology built into it, because it's got the electric spit that you could throw a roast on there and let it turn. And then it's also got little blowers inside it. So if you're gonna step away, just like with the pellet smoker, it keeps your fire consistent. If you need to step away and you want to make sure that your fire stays stoked, you just crank the little fan on, and the fan just blows on the coals, Yep. And I gotta tell you, man, like I've been pretty basic with grilling before I got into smoking meat. I usually have a propane grill, or I cook with a cast iron. And since I've gotten this, I've done most of my grilling on this. I'll throw a lump charcoal down and throw just a little bit of wood on it for flavor. And I never knew what I was missing, not having wood flavor in grilling. I would associate wood flavor with smoking, not grilling, but now I make sure I incorporate it in both.
No, that's sweet. With my at my shop. So I've been there 10 years. People are sick to death of hearing about barbecue every day. I'm half sleeping while I'm welding, and I'm still muttering about ribs or something. Like, everyone around me just, it's crazy, right? 7:00 in the morning, and people are just trying to figure out what they're about to do with their day. And I'm like, I wonder if I should use salt, pepper, and garlic or what. And they're like, what are you talking about? Oh, no, I'm just, it's. So the foreman finally broke down. He was a Napoleon, like a hardcore, and I'm not knocking any brands or anybody. He's a hardcore into Napoleon gas grills. and he's got the whole kitchen set up and everything. And he's just been, and he dumped a ton of money into this big stainless monster, which is amazing. It's a beautiful grill.
Mm-hmm.
Well, don't you think his wife got him a small egg for Christmas? And it was like even the knockoff. It wasn't even a KJ. It was like a Primo or whatever, right? So he's got this knockoff egg. For Valentine's Day was the first time he fired it up. He cooked a couple of filet mignons for the wife. And the wife was like, see, this is why I got it for you. Like, can't you taste the difference? It's 100%. And he was like, so now I've got this 12-inch grill space, right? And he's like, now I'm trying to cook everything on this in my entire, like, you know, natural gas outdoor kitchen. And he's like, and I got this thing in the corner. And he's like, I have to re-envision everything I built here just to get back to that flavor now. Because the wife was 100% down. Like, she's like, that's...
My favorite thing is when I can incorporate two of my toys into one cook. So if I'm doing tomahawk and I can reverse sear it by smoking it for a little while and then searing it on, you know, the hot coals, you know, and switch it over. And anytime I can use two toys with one meal, I'm happy. And then, you know, the other thing too is, man, like, you know, I feel myself. I know how people get addicted with this stuff. Like I'm starting to. I want to get a Blackstone griddle, an outdoor griddle, you know. And I'm like, you know, anything I cook on that, I could cook on a cast iron in my house. But I'm like, man, it just seems like so much fun to have that big space and just go crazy, you know.
Two things.
The other
taco night on there, on that Blackstone taco night, change your life. And also, anytime you get a bit drunk and you want to do Japanese. Buddy, Japanese on that thing, it's romantic. It just sells itself. It's you throw the bottle of sake right on the grill, heat it up a bit. Oh no, it is. Trust me, the wife will be like, "You cook this on there?" Like it's
So, yeah, I mean the Blackstones are great. I have a small one which I think would be perfect for you. Mine's 22 inches. It's, you know, perfect size. I can fit 6 tacos on there if I'm doing tacos. But it's one burner. Actually, no, I have a 17-inch one, and it's one burner. They have one that's 22 inches, nice and portable. You can take it on the road with you. But it has the 22-inch one has two burners, so you can kind of get different temps. And for me, the Blackstone is perfect for those big old breakfasts too.
Yeah.
You know, if you're on the road, and
that's what I want it for, man. I love standing outside with a cup of coffee. And cook a breakfast outdoors. So I took my family with me on the road when my kids were much younger. When we moved from Florida to LA, I took them in a 25-foot travel trailer for a year and a half. We traveled around the country, and I performed every weekend in a different city pretty much. And one of my favorite things was being in a campsite and pulling the little outdoor burners down from the side of the RV and just cooking breakfast outside with a cup of coffee and a deer walks by. Or you're in the Malibu Bluffs and you see a whale out there. I'm just like, man, this is life.
Yeah.
It's got a big mess of breakfast potatoes.
I want to get the Blackstone.
I need to start eating breakfast.
So I'll tell you. Yeah. Step one is getting up that early.
I'm up, but I'm cooking briskets already, and I'm already in the beer, so I tend to skip breakfast all the time.
Yeah. Well. And to be fair with the comedian schedule, I don't wake up sometimes till 11 or noon, and I still cook breakfast then. So you don't have to get up early.
Yeah.
So the griddle's on my wish list, and then I don't think I'm allowed to talk about it yet, but I am getting a upgrade on the pellet smoker. I'm getting something new that I'll be able to talk about soon, and then I'm getting what I also want to look into is. Oh man, this is where my wife's gonna come into play. Is I just had Shane from SG Metalworks on my podcast. Man, he's a good dude, and man, his smokers are awesome. So my buddy's just got one from him, an 80-pounder or an 80-gallon propane setup, and so I've been going over there and cooking with him, and I'm like, man, it's such a pretty smoker. So I don't need it, but I also don't have an offset. So I think it would just be fun to have my gravity-fed cabinet and then the offset right next to it. And so I might work on getting that. But I gotta work on my wife first because I'm gonna have to build this deck out a lot further.
Yeah, Well, you remember when we very first talked, one of the first questions you had for me was about Darth Angus. That's my 125 gallon, right? And that thing's still tried and true, man. You fire it up and it does what it's meant to do. And it does it perfect every time. So that's a selling feature all in itself, man. I know I'm putting 2 axles under one now. And you talk about Shane from SG Metalworks. He's been a huge help to me. He's been dipping into my DMs. I've been going back and forth with him with the little things that you don't get to see in the pictures, right? So a true gentleman, he knows I'm no competition to him. I'm not selling him. I'm not nothing. And I'm also way up here, so we're not neighbors, right? He's been giving me the inner workings of how he builds his rigs and does his stuff. An absolute gentleman. And he's helped me out a ton because, Canada, it's not like I can just go down to the street to the local barbecue place and take a look at their smoker. It's a natural gas cube in the back of like an old McDonald's. So that's what you get.
Especially where you live. I think the closest human's like 20 miles from you, right?
Yeah, exactly. That if you fight the wolves, even that's the
my neighbor's on the other side of that shack right there, like 2 feet away. Okay, like it's very different here.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's
So funny enough, this just happened last week actually. So I'm cranking up those big boys like in the middle of the night all the time, blowing smoke or whatever. And this is a big reason why I put it in the front yard, not the backyard. By the way, I have it chained up like crazy. So in case anyone's thinking about coming by and stealing them, it ain't happening. And plus, my dog will bark if you even smell like an Amazon package. So, but if you could steal the 900-pounder, you can have it. I'll give you credit for getting that thing out of here. I have a concrete wall, and you ain't getting it over that wall. So, anyways, there's an apartment complex behind my house. Okay, so across the alley behind my house is an apartment complex. And last week, the fire truck came and pulled up the alley, and there was smoke pouring out of one of the balconies. And the guys were going up the ladder to the balcony, and the guy popped his head out and was like, "What's going on?" And they were like, "We're coming to see what's happening." He's like, "I'm smoking ribs." The guy had a smoker on his mouth, and someone called the fire department on him. And then he wasn't answering his door for some reason, so they were coming up the balcony. And I'm like, "See, that's why I have my shit in the front yard, and that's why I make sure all the neighbors get ribs when I cook them."
That's the sweet thing for me is all of my immediate neighbors follow me. So we've got that all totally licked. They're like legit. I've cooked for people's lunches and birthdays and stuff like that. Just because they're like, "Oh, I saw that was. Are you gonna have any left?" I'm like, "Yeah, actually, I'm vacuum sealing most of this anyway." They're like, "Well, can we get some of that?" And no problem. It's awesome. I love it. And everyone I've got zero complaints from it. And we do some late night heavy everything, and zero complaints. So it's awesome. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I believe it, man. So explain to me. I was going to explain to me cooking in the middle of winter. Do you guys still go out there and knock the snow off your smoker and fire it up, or do you kind of give it up for a few months?
Well, I got a covered area, so I have a 10 by 12 pergola underneath there. My eggs are underneath there, and it's probably 15, 20 feet from the house. So I'm constantly running out back and forth. But my wife makes fun of me. It's we had the negative 12 degrees Fahrenheit last week, and I'm still out there running out there in my Crocs, shorts, and a t-shirt, just quick flipping my stuff on the grill, doing what I got to do, and running back in the house. So that doesn't slow me down one bit. I mean, with my schedule, I'm still able to grill probably 3-4 nights a week.
No. Was it last weekend? It was not last weekend, the weekend before. Minus 34 Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
Negative 34 Fahrenheit. And I'm out there in my flippy floppies and my robe and a beer. Play through, brother. Play through.
Yep. Yeah, it was
man, the coldest I've ever been in my...
Give her.
I was going to say the coldest I've ever been in my life was doing shows in Winnipeg, Canada. There's an awesome comedy club there called Rumors. And they have a condo. They have an apartment that they own that they put comics up in instead of a hotel. So there's a mall across the street. So I was there one time and it was like -20 or some shit like that, right? And I'm like, well, I'll just pop over to the mall and get some groceries so I can cook all week. And I'm like, how cold can it be? And I'm all bundled up. Man, I wasn't even halfway to the mall, just walking across the street, and I couldn't feel my eyes.
Yeah.
I was like, this is ridiculous. And my wife's always like, she grew up in Indianapolis where, they actually have a winter. I grew up in Miami, so I'm just clueless with it half the time. And she's like, oh, you just don't know how to layer. You don't know how to layer. She's like, if you layer, you're fine. And I'm like, no. I couldn't feel my eyes. Like, you can't layer your eyes.
Yeah, dude.
I can't put like a scarf around my eyeballs.
It gets nasty cold up here, man. But here's my thing. I'm not out there for too long in between flipping and checking and whatever, right? And the egg, you fire it up, it just goes. That's where that double insulation comes in super handy. Because once it hits the temperature inside, it's like it's not even cold out. It just makes its own little heat shield and it just goes, right? But cooking briskets in -34 Fahrenheit in my flip-flops and a robe. My beer froze to the steel egg unit, right? The stainless. It actually froze to it. And I had to, because it's a pint glass, right? They're thin at the top. So I had to like karate chop the base, but catch it with the other hand as it broke free. And sometimes my eggs will freeze shut, and then I have to use my tiger torch to kind of thaw it without cracking it or burning the paint, just enough to get it.
Oh, man.
I'm not even joking, man. If I can get the bottom vent open, which I have to like go over a few times with the tiger torch, then I shove the tiger torch into the vent and try and get some heat enough to loosen the seal that it'll crack open. And this is like, we're talking -34 Fahrenheit. It's cold. If the wind just turns, everything dies, right? Like, it sucks. Imagine my truck has got like 10 liters of oil in it, and it's like molasses if you poured it out, right? I had to change a wife's battery, my mom's battery, because it just froze solid. But I still am out there cooking briskets 100%. Yeah, that's
man, the only thing I got to worry about is keeping my stuff from rusting out because I'm a mile from the beach. So I'm sorry for your struggle.
Yeah, that's
that sounds real rough.
Yeah, I would trade my frostbite for sand in my Speedo any day of the week, buddy. If I was your neighbor, you'd see me in just a Speedo and flip-flops every day. You just hear me coming. Slap, slap, slap,
man.
slap.
I'm on Team Speedo all the way, dude. I'll recruit you for the water polo masters team.
I love it. That's so good. Oh, yeah. I love that, man.
Be careful what you wish for.
Mm-hmm.
Mel's a lion.
So I was thinking about this earlier. Let me ask you guys: have you guys ever had a flare-up or a grease fire or something where you got legitimately scared?
Yes. Yes, I so cooking lunch for the guys at work the night before, I had one of those tall master-built propane-fired smokers. Next to it, I had a Weber kettle, I think. The Weber kettle melted the propane line into the master-built, shooting it like a flamethrower. Late at night, the wife is looking out the kitchen window, and the entire backyard is lit up from the ball of fire that's rolling out of the smoker that was full of pork butts and briskets and ribs. And it heated up and caught fire of the Weber kettle and everything in it as well. That's how big the ball of fire was. I was downstairs watching the Edmonton Oilers play, drunk as a skunk, just having a blast. So now I got to go out there. The first thing I do is kick the propane tank like it's a football away from, and then run over and turn it off. It was red hot, man. Like, it was red hot. Just crazy, man. That was my flare. That was my epic fail for barbecue. Everything in it was just black and burnt. I had a lunch to perform the next day, so I ended up calling in sick instead of rolling in there with food, and then bringing the lunch at noon like I was supposed to, but having to thaw stuff in the taps were cranked on hot, like everything you're not supposed to do. But I was gonna like literally thaw it, throw it right back on the smoker. It was just the whole thing was a nightmare, man.
Well, that's the worst part, right? Is that even if you save the food, it's not going to taste good because it's going to be all sooty, you know?
Yeah.
That
No, it
happened
was
to me on-
everything was trash. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that's what happened to me on Thanksgiving. I had 3 turkeys, and then the people I was cooking, I was cooking 20-pound turkeys, and that was my mistake because I never cooked turkeys that big before. So, and then everyone I was cooking for decided they wanted them at different pickup times. So, you know, I had to get one done early, one a couple hours later, a couple of hours after that. And like a brisket, no big deal. You cook them at the same time. You throw it in a cooler. You let it, you know, or a hot box. You let it go. But like turkeys, I'm a little skeptical to let them like sit in a cooler for too long. You know, like anything poultry wise.
Yep.
So I'm trying to time it all out. And the first 2 turkeys I nailed. The third turkey, I was eating my Thanksgiving dinner, and so I wasn't paying attention for like 30 minutes. And I had a flare up in the gravity fed where all the charcoal just flared. I mean, it just turned into a soot fire. And and so I saved the food, and I was able to finish cooking it. And so the food was like texturally fine, but I couldn't save it from having that soot taste.
Yep.
So I didn't charge my buddy for that turkey. I told him just to take it for free.
Yeah. No, and on that note, I cooked a 38-pound bird this year.
Goddamn ostrich.
Are you sure that wasn't a human?
Yeah, man.
That's an ostrich, Mel. You cooked
Christmas turkey was literally, she was like this big.
Yeah.
She was actually that 38-pound turkey. Just nuts.
Man.
Its breasts were the size.
That.
No, its breasts were literally the size of a whole pecan. When I was carving them up, I was like, this is freaky. Like, this is.
Golly.
Yeah. Yeah, it was neat. It was neat.
Yeah.
So, Chris, tell me about your fire.
Yeah.
You know, fortunately, I haven't had any big fires. I mean, that's kind of one of the benefits of cooking on an egg, is it dies down really quickly. Like, I've had stuff get too hot for me, and I'm an idiot, and whenever I post these, I tell people not to do it, but I'll deep fry on my eggs because I don't want my house to smell like that the whole next day. So I have.
Wait, deep fry? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you deep fry on an egg?
So I use a Dutch oven, either a Dutch oven or a cast iron. It's actually called a chicken fryer. You know, it's a 100-year-old skillet that's probably 4 inches deep that people have used to fry chicken over live fire for a long time. And, you know, the nice thing about that is as long as the vessel that I have fits inside the egg, if something were to happen, luckily it hasn't happened, you can shut the egg, close both vents, and the fire's out within, you know, seconds because it's really started that oxygen really fast. But I always tell people whenever in half the time I don't post it when I do it because I don't want to be responsible for some idiot trying to do that on their own and, you know, starting their house on fire. Fortunately enough, I haven't had that issue yet.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie to you either. You should probably look into adding an egg to your arsenal. I don't know why you don't have one yet.
Oh, man.
That's the one he doesn't have.
I would love to have a whole collection.
I'm just saying, like, the best, the absolute best Nashville hot chicken I've ever had came out of a cast Dutch oven over the charcoal on that big green egg. And then you throw the warming rack in there. You throw them on there to dry out a bit. Like, it's silly. It's silly how good it is.
Hey, look, man, I'm okay with adding any smoker you think I should add to my arsenal. I just have to get it financially approved by my wife. That's the hard part. So
actually, this is a great question. This is not really a question, but it's a question I wanted to ask anyway. Aren't you guys on fire for like 3/4 of the year all the time? Like, how do you smoke with that?
So we are. Luckily, most of the grass is dead in my front yard anyway, so I feel pretty safe with ash flying and everything in my front yard. My house is pretty contained, but when I was telling you guys about being in the travel trailer with my family, and so when we would be up at these RV state parks and RV parks, Yeah, you definitely had to be careful, because if you let a little ash get into the atmosphere, or you throw a cigar down, or whatever, you'd have an issue. So a lot of them wouldn't even let you use charcoal. You had to use a little propane grill or something. But it's definitely something that you have to be conscious of out here. I feel fine where I live next to the beach, so everything's just wet all the time, man. Every morning that we have so much dew in our yard that it feels like it rained.
Oh.
So everything's pretty moist in my yard. But the drought that's up in like the middle of the state is really where a lot of that happens.
Yep. Well, it's neat. California is definitely on my hit list because I have so many friends out there, right? Vallejo, all through there. Like, I have to come. There's no way. You'll be seeing me on your front step one day, buddy. I promise you that. It's going to happen.
I got a pull-out couch, buddy. You're always welcome. And I got a hammock right. I got a hammock right. I don't know if you can see it. I got a hammock right here. You can sleep in my front yard. You're just going to be covered in dew in the morning.
That's awesome. I'll take it. I will totally take it. That's it. Oh, yeah.
I actually have a barn. I actually have a barn in my backyard that's like a clubhouse for my kids,
Yep.
And I thought about renting that out for probably $2,000 a month out here in LA. You could probably no bathroom or nothing. You could probably get it out here.
That's awesome, man. I can't wait to see it because it's, growing up, a couple of TV shows out of Southern California, right? All of that. Like, I can just picture how it is being Canadian, right? That's how we relate a lot of our stuff. We get our, whatever your fast food place is doing right now that's hot and happening, we'll get it 4 years from now. And it's amazing. And it's everything we thought it was. And we had 4 years to get excited about it, right? Like, I can't wait. I can't wait to see it. It's going to be.
Well, the most popular place here is In-N-Out. In-N-Out's like California, like you got to hit it if you come out here. But it's kind of like Tim Hortons. It's how, like, we'll never have a Tim Hortons here because it's just so centrically Canadian, So In-N-Out's the same way. They will never branch out further. Like, there's a couple now. There's like one in Texas. There's one in Vegas and a couple in Arizona. But they don't want to spread out too much because they don't want to lose quality, which I respect.
Yep.
Yeah. We don't have In-N-Out burgers here, but in Wisconsin, what we have those old school supper clubs. They don't have those a lot of other places where, you walk in, it's dimly lit. Half the time you have to order your meal at the bar. You have a drink or two at the bar, and then they tell you and they'll seat you at your table once your food is ready. But it's, the classic old-fashioned fish fry. And, in Wisconsin, I think it's something that we started to make ourselves feel better, but we call it roasted chicken, but it's actually deep-fried chicken. And
Roasted?
Right. But it's listed on the menu as roasted chicken. I'm like, what's the difference between roasted and roasted? They're like, oh, it's just fried. Oh, okay.
This is where my brain goes. Is that it's a roasted chicken, but it's like a bro. It's like, what's up, bro? You gonna eat?
Yeah.
Right. I think it's something that
chicken, bro,
does to make ourselves feel better and maybe feel thinner. Oh, it's not fried; it's roasted.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was bragging about Rumors Comedy Club up in Winnipeg, which is the closest as Mel is to civilization. But in Wisconsin, my favorite place, one of my favorite clubs in the world. Boy, I really got the beer hiccups now. Excuse me. Is in Madison, Wisconsin, a place called Comedy on State. And man, one of the best comedy clubs in the world. Such a cool place. And not only is the club great, but that downtown Madison area is awesome. So much great food, so much great, so many great bars to go have a whiskey after a show. And when I was in the travel trailer with my family doing that year and a half around the country, there was a gigantic farmer's market around the state capitol building there. It's very famous, And so we were there for that. We went in and we got all kinds of brats and cheese curds and stuff that was locally sourced in order to cook ourselves in the campsite. That was one of the coolest things. It was before I was into smoking meat, and it's really something that kind of inspired me to get into cooking was when we traveled in that travel trailer, was getting local stuff wherever we went and cooking it. So in Madison, I remember getting the brats. And then when we went up to Canada, like in Vancouver area, we got salmon. And, just wherever we were, we got whatever was fresh to that area. And it was such a cool thing, man. But Madison, Wisconsin, man, Comedy on State, one of the coolest comedy clubs in the world.
That area is really cool. That whole State Street. It's a great college town. They've done a really good job of just kind of, you get that vibe on State Street. Did you stop by State Street Brats at all?
That doesn't ring a bell, but it doesn't mean I didn't stop there, because I've been there several times and I've eaten a ton of places, and I've also drank a lot of beers while I was there, so I'm not gonna remember the name of it.
Yeah,
but there's this one pizza joint right down the street, and they have like macaroni and cheese pizza and stuff like that, man. Killer.
Yeah. State Street Brats is just like a big German beer hall type, bar there. It's 2 stories. There's a lot of cool things. Being there for a Wisconsin Badger football game, that's a whole other experience too.
Oh, I'm sure it's killer.
You've been there with the U, right? You
What's that?
Miami fan? Are you a Miami fan?
Oh yeah. So I grew up in Miami, a gigantic University of Miami fan during the heyday when they were winning championships. We had season tickets, and I went. And then I ended up going. I went to college at Auburn University, which is an SEC school. A lot of proud tradition. So I'm both a Miami Hurricanes fan and an Auburn Tigers fan. Now this is cool. You want a barbecue story? So when I was in high school and the Canes were awesome, Warren Sapp was a superstar on the Miami Hurricanes team. Right? He got drafted by the Bucks, won a Super Bowl, Hall of Fame. He's just getting inducted into the Hall of Fame now. Warren Sapp was an icon when I was a kid, right? So he was coming out here for the Super Bowl to do the live stream with Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer. And I hit up Bert and I go, Bert, do you guys want me to cook barbecue for you guys for the Super Bowl? And he's like, that's an awesome idea. He's like, we would love it, right? So they hired me to cook a bunch of barbecue for them for the live stream. So when I order meat from my buddy here in town, so the company delivers a ton of meat on Thursday that I'm going to use on Sunday. So I take a picture of it and I post it on Instagram and I tag Tom, Bert, and Warren in it. I never met Warren before, right? So that night, I guess Warren sees it and he follows me, and then he messages me immediately and says, hey man, I just got into town. I want to come grill at your house tomorrow. So I think he's kidding around. I go, hey man, Miami Hurricanes always welcome at my house, right? And he goes, cool. I'm going fishing with these guys until 1 o'clock. I'll come over after. And I'm like, oh, you're serious? So he's like, yeah, I'm serious. He's like, I love barbecue and I love grilling. And he's like, I don't have anything to do in the afternoon. I want to come over and grill at your house. I go, okay. So then I call Bert. And I go, Bert, Warren just hit me up. I guess he's going fishing with you and Tom tomorrow. And he's going to come over to my house after. And Bert's like, well, cool, man. Well, listen, so this is what I'll do. If we catch fish, I'll tell him, like, hey, man, my buddy Dave was close. He can cook the fish for us. I go, Bert, you don't have to tell him anything. He's coming with or without you, bro. I already gave him my address.
Yeah, so, that's awesome.
So sure enough, those guys went off. So now those guys went off fishing, and then they text me when they come back. And they go, hey, man, we're coming by your house. And I go, all right. So my buddy, when I ordered all the food, I have a couple friends that tack on to my order so they get free delivery, And plus I got a discount through the podcast. I have it set up as a corporate account. Mm-hmm. So I have a buddy who ordered a tomahawk steak off me. So I had already thrown a couple beef ribs in the smoker. I picked up a tri-tip from the store down the street. And then I text my buddy. I go, hey, man, Warren Sapp's coming over to my house. I got to cook your tomahawk. Sorry. So I did a tri-tip. I did a tomahawk. I did some beef ribs. And those guys came over, and I got to feed one of my childhood heroes, man, a Super Bowl champion on Super Bowl weekend. It was so cool just hanging out in my front yard eating tomahawks.
See, that's the shit right there, man. Barbecue literally makes memories. You can't argue it. That's
yeah, he would have hit me up and been like, hey, can I come by and have some burgers or something, or hey, I heard you make a good pizza in your pizza. Yeah. He wanted to come over and eat tomahawks and beef ribs. You know what I mean?
I heard your bowl of kale is really special. want to come check out your kale. No, man, it's barbecue. It's always barbecue. That's
back to that salad conversation.
That's it, buddy. That makes me so happy to hear shit like that. It's
in the business we call that a callback, Dave. When we go back to an earlier joke. Okay.
Oh, thank you for telling me. I appreciate it, Chris. Never heard that term before.
That's an awesome story. I mean, how awesome is Warren Sapp? Is he just as down to earth as he used to be?
I mean, he is so entertaining, dude. Just sitting around telling stories. He's an open book. Yeah, man, really cool guy, man. Yeah, it was nice to meet him. And, I got, being in the car business in South Florida, I got to meet like tons of football players. And, I've been around a lot of athletes and stuff, there's a lot of like, big time Miami Dolphins players that like I would drive their car, like they would get their car fixed and I would drive it and deliver it back to their house. So like I got to know like a lot of, so it's not like I said, I don't get starstruck that much when it comes to entertainers and athletes and stuff, but Warren's just like, man, such a cool guy to chill with, man. He's just such a funny dude, telling stories and not holding back, and he's like one of the boys,
Yeah. Oh, that's so awesome, man. I'm so happy for you too. I would have been like, can you sign my barbecue wall? And he'd be like, nobody signed it yet. I'm like, I'm working on it. Hey, this is your number one. Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, see? Yeah, that one right there. That's it. Sign it, please. Yeah,
Hey, Edgar, is that you, buddy? If you leave the can there, I'll drag it out for you in a little bit, but
I love it.
All right, buddy. That's my neighbor, Edgar.
That's so awesome.
It's trash night, guys. We got to drag our trash out.
Yeah.
What? So, Mel, who's the most famous person to ever come out of your tiny town?
Other than Wayne Gretzky?
What? You live in Wayne Gretzky's hometown?
I don't think it was his hometown, but he spent the best part of his career here. So there's that. He got married here downtown.
Wait. Are you in Edmonton?
I am in Edmonton, Alberta.
Okay. I'm such an idiot. I thought you lived in some tiny town in Canada.
I do. It's called Edmonton, Alberta. Yeah. What do you want? Buddy, born and raised Edmonton Oilers fan since forever. Like it is what it is. It's
so
far away.
So the first time I ever worked at comedy club I was talking about in Winnipeg is so I go to Winnipeg, and this is like years. This is like 2012 maybe, right? So a trick. Chris, you already know this, that you know about callbacks and all the lingo. But one of the tricks of the trade is you just kind of like pander a little bit at the beginning of your set. You get them on your side.
Yeah.
So I was nervous about it. It was my first time ever performing in Canada. So I come out and I open the set with I was like, hey man, I think it's ridiculous that your hockey team moved to Atlanta. I go, that's crap, dude. You guys are diehard hockey fans. You guys deserve them. And I just think that, I'm on your side. And people were kind of like, but I thought it was going to be like, yeah, we appreciate that. Yeah, And so I did that every night, and I couldn't figure out why it wasn't working. And then finally, like the fourth night, one of the wait staff told me, like, hey, man, we got our hockey team back last year, right? I was like, no, I did not know that. Like, if I known that, I wouldn't have been saying it every night on stage. I go, but it makes me feel better because I thought you guys were crazy because I saw Winnipeg Jets outfitter stores everywhere. And I'm like, these people will not give it up. Like, they keep coming out with new logos. The team's gone.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, Winnipeg's a special place. It's neat. It's
yeah, it's like the Cleveland of
exactly. Yeah,
all right, that makes sense.
It's kind of a boring town, but it's like awesome people.
Yeah, they're great people. They're great. A lot of heart in Winnipeg. Yeah, that's
very passionate.
It sucks in Winnipeg.
I'm scrolling through the comments now. I'm seeing if there's anybody.
Yeah, Tommy Chung came from Edmonton too, I believe. So there's that.
Oh, that's why someone wrote Tommy Chung. All right, cool, man. Well, who doesn't love Cheech and Chong?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we've had a couple of. I know this guy Mel. He came from Edmonton, so that's a pretty big deal. That's
well, I was setting you up. I was hoping you would say you.
That's it. Born and raised, man. That's it. That's
well, it was back when you thought there was only 30 people in your town.
Yeah. Well, there's
yeah.
At least a couple hundred. They're in my way on my way to work every day. So that's yeah, a lot of that. So that's one thing I got to ask. Now, you were saying there's always leftovers, right? After the show and stuff. Okay. I want to know, and I said I'd only bring this up once. Does Bert eat a lot, or is he more of like a nibbler? And I have to ask this because I'm a bigger dude. That I like to be tarps off all the time. I don't give a shit, right? But I don't actually eat nearly as much as you think I would because I drink too much, right? So
yeah. So I think me, you, and Bert probably our biggest enemy regarding our fitness level or our weight is probably drinking, these bad boys.
Yep.
But Bert actually, if we sit down and eat a meal, he eats pretty healthy and pretty conservative, pretty consciously. Okay.
Yep.
The problem is after we've had a few beers, he's a snacker.
Yeah.
So, and before a show too, he doesn't eat very much before like at dinner time, he won't eat very much. So sometimes he'll like have a big lunch, but he won't have much for breakfast. He won't have much for dinner. But then after the show, we're all having beers and we're all hanging out. Next thing you know, like we went to McDonald's one time and walked up. We went up to the drive-thru and we told them, "Hey, we have $200. Just fill as many bags with whatever you want until we get the $200." So they were just shoving Big Macs and fries and chicken nuggets and milkshakes and stuff. And we got $200 worth of McDonald's, which turns out to be a lot of stuff. Yeah. And we went back to the bus, and we just had a blast using them as ingredients to make stuff. I was drinking whiskey milkshakes. We were dicing the French fries up and making hash browns out of them. We were taking Big Macs and like stacking them up 3 high. We were taking leftover brisket and putting them in the big. We just have fun, like just doing dumb shit like that,
Yep.
So that's what I think kills us is eating way too much. I did a Bert cast with him the other day, and him and Ron, the bus driver, were telling stories, and we were laughing at the night. We did that one time with the $200 of McDonald's. We didn't feel great for like a day or two, and then we went to a friend's house because we had a night off. So then I cooked a bunch of stuff on the smoker and made vegetables and a whole spread. So we pigged out that night, just feasted on a nice dinner. And then like 4 hours later, we were a couple beers deep, and we decided to order 10 Papa John's pizzas. I mean, we hated ourselves the next day. We were like, why don't we just eat all that? But it just seems like such a good idea at 2 a.m.,
Yeah. No, that 100%, that's so far up my alley, man. It's not even funny. And
when we were in college, we had the metabolism and the exercise regimen to absorb that kind of punishment, but now it's harder.
Yeah. No, that's when the Super Bowl was going on, right? And I'm getting ready to go to bed. And then the lightning strikes me, right? It's the last stretch of the game, and all of a sudden out comes a ramen pot, and the wife's like, "Really? You ate dinner already?" And I'm like, well, I just need a bowl of soup. It's a pot of soup. It's a whole, and it's, now you got the egg out. I got the pork belly out. I got the prawns out. It's turns into this big epic thing. And I'm like, yeah, look. She's like, look at you. You can barely keep your eyes open. I'm like, that's from the steam. Like, it's, leave a man to his pot of ramen here. Just, it's so good. It's so good.
When I was in college, it was the first time I had experienced Waffle House. Oh. And what Waffle House is famous for is they put a bunch of shit in their hash browns, right? So you could get diced onions and ham and tomato and whatever else, and cheese all mixed up into your hash browns. So good. So we didn't have Uber back then. We didn't get a taxi in the middle of the night. It was a pain in the butt. And nobody had money for it anyways. And we didn't want to drive drunk out to the highway where Waffle House was. So what I started doing was, this was my early adventures into cooking as well, is I just started buying shredded hash browns at the grocery store and putting them in my freezer. So when we got drunk and everyone wanted to go to Waffle House, but it wasn't safe, I would just be like, hey guys, let's go to my kitchen. I got us. And I had a Waffle House hat that I had gotten one time when we were there. So I'd put my Waffle House hat on and I'd pull out the biggest frying pan I had. And I just go to town making hash browns for everyone with some olive oil in the pan. And then the thing is, funny enough, I'm always a tarps off guy too, Bell, especially back in college. So I'd always have my shirt off and my Waffle House hat on, cooking hash browns. And then the oil would start popping and I'd end up with burns all over my belly, which didn't bother me when I was... several beers deep. But then the next day, I'd always wake up and I'd be like, why do I have burns all over my belly? Because I was cooking hash browns for the whole apartment complex.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's why you need a Blackstone.
Yeah, that's
Is there.
Hey,
yeah.
what's your guys' pocket? My pocket is like 3 beers deep. I feel like if I'm 3 beers deep, I'm like more talented. Like if I'm shooting pool or throwing darts, if I get like 3 beers deep, I'm a little looser and I'm a little bit more, I'm funnier. I'm like, I'm like chill. But then the struggle is maintaining 3 beers deep. You got to wait for that first beer to wear off before you hit the 4th beer, Yeah. So you might have had 7 beers, but you want to keep it in that 3 beers deep like zone. Does that make sense? This is my 3rd beer, by the way.
Man, your math is right on point here. You got the Weather Network dialed right in. That's it.
I become very athletic.
1, 2, yeah, that's my 3rd.
3 beers deep. That's when I become much more athletic. I honestly become a better golfer then because it's like, all right, I'm more chill. I can just go up there and swing. Usually I'm pissed off, so at the turn I'm like, all right, we're gonna go in there. I'm gonna grab a couple of drinks. Things are gonna calm down. It feels a lot better.
That's the wife says the live air light for me, right? She's like, I can tell when it flips on and all of a sudden you're loose, right? You got all the conversation happening. All of a sudden you're just, and she's like, yeah, you're there. You're in there. And then you just try and carry that out all day, right?
So,
yeah.
You got to love people who know you so well and are part of your life that know those like tells and whatever. So when I was after I graduated college, I took my wife up to Charlotte, North Carolina. It's where I first started doing comedy at this little sketch comedy club and everything. And my buddies, I'm so lucky, man. Some of the best buds I've ever had. But they would laugh, and that's a funny comment.
Yeah, that's good.
So this is how they knew how drunk I was. My buddies, they totally discovered this and told me about this myself. And I'm like, you guys are totally right. But when we were in a crowded bar. And like, how like you're in a crowded bar and you'd be like, hey, Mel, did I ever tell you the story about, you like do this so they can hear you better? Well, the drunker I get, for some reason, the more I would turn my hand up like this. I don't know why, but my buddies were like, hey, man, did you guys have fun tonight? They'd be like, yeah, Dave was wasted. He was like up here by 10. So that's just a thing I do for some reason. I just turn my hand up the drunker I get.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I had a good one.
Ty commented. I was gonna say Ty commented that drunk Waffle House is the best.
Yes,
and you're absolutely right, Ty. I moved up there and started going to Waffle House, and I'd be drunk, and I was like, "This place is amazing." And then my parents came up to visit me in college, and I was like, "Oh, I know a good breakfast spot." And we went and had the breakfast there, and I was like, "I'm sorry, this is terrible." I'm like, "This is the first time I'd had it sober."
Yeah, we should come back late at night where it's really good. That's
like Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Downtown Milwaukee, there's a place called Real Chili. Not sure I've ever had it sober, but oh my gosh, when it's midnight and you get a big bowl of this greasy chili over noodles, best there is.
No, we've got an IHOP. It's the same deal.
Yep.
IHOP is fantastic.
IHOP's
late, it's awesome. Early morning,
so
it's
I cut you off before, Mel. You were gonna go into something.
Yes, so that D-tree there, Darren. I went to Toronto mid COVID. In between lockdowns, there was a little window where I could scoot across the country. So I took off down to Toronto, and Chef Ted Reeder, he held a night for me, like a little barbecue festival thing. Just quiet, though, you know, small social gathering at a golf course. We did all of that. And a lot of those guys from the barbecue family, they came out and they're hanging out, whatever. And they all got to see like full extent, because this was my, you know, I'm away from the family. I'm away from the kids. I'm in Toronto. No holds barred, right? No holds barred.
Yeah, you turned it up.
Full tilt, man. And everyone's like, "Here, let me buy you a shot." And the guy behind the bar is like, "It's open. Don't worry about it." And everyone was like, "Ching, ching, ching," like it just, yeah. And it was hilarious because they were all like, "You're actually like this. Like, we watch you like this, but you're actually doing everything that we." I'm like, well, yeah. That's it's everything you saw on the deck is exactly what you get when you get me. This is it. I even brought the robe. So the guy I was staying with, 3-story house, right? And I'm up on the top balcony on the deck. First thing in the morning, I'm standing there in my robe drinking a beer, and his neighbor calls his wife. And they're like, "Are you home?" Yeah, we're home. Everything's fine. Oh, okay, because there's a guy in a robe on your deck. Do you know him? Or yeah, like no joke. Like people were checking in to make sure I hadn't like robbed them and killed them or something, right? Like it was hilarious. It was awesome.
A suspicious looking guy is in your front yard right now.
Yeah.
Say
No
the
complaints.
Imagine the calls I'm going to get when you're sleeping in my hammock.
Yeah, that's it was a great time, man. It was, but it's a neat thing when people like get to know you so well on the internet and stuff like that, and then you can meet them in person. I can't wait to see once this COVID breaks and we get to get back out and do stuff. I can't wait to see all of the neat shit for everybody. Like it's going to be because so many people are sharing so much more.
It's going to be like just going hard as you can, and you're going to appreciate it, but it's going to be it's going to be balls out.
Yeah, Big Green Egg is
going to be
already
the roaring 20s, dude. Everyone's going to be like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, Big Green Egg has already said, like, "Hey, if you have another one." Tone down.
Well, I'm thinking about going to this Memphis in May. I don't know if you guys are super familiar. Have you ever been before, Chris?
I haven't. Was going to, but we'll see. We'll see when it's in the cards. I mean, I'm not going to go this year. Maybe next year would be great.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I might have the vaccine before then. So I might go, man, because I know a lot of people that are going to be there. A lot of the people I know that are going are from a part of the country that aren't super strict with all this stuff. So I think they'll be there. But if I have the vaccine, man, I'm going to go maybe put a couple of comedy shows together at barbecue joints around the area.
Yeah.
And then just go pop around and cook with people, man. I've had so many people invite me. And I'm like, I'm just going to get a hotel somewhere close and then just bounce around, not be on any one particular cook team, but just kind of like pop around and see people and hang out. And man, it would be it sounds so much fun.
Dude, you'd be the biggest comedian in Memphis in that week. Like, that's
for
half,
one weekend, I would be.
Well, no, but you know what I mean, right? For Memphis in May, you showing up there with that'd be massive. That'd be, people would come to see you just to hear you talk your short rib game. That's like, it'd be massive. It'd be, yeah. Because that's the thing, when you can mix comedy and barbecue together in a place that's so barbecue run with like the Super Bowl of barbecue happening, why not? Why not? It's if nothing else, I got to go just to like figure it out, you know. Like, well, I think if I go once and I hang out, I'll see like, oh, here's some obvious ways I can align, a comedy show with this event or creating content with this, but I got to go and see it and experience it, Yeah, man. No, that's on my hit list big time. Memphis in May and the Royal. As soon as I can, as soon as my government lets me dabble back into your government, I would like to go fly the coop down south as soon as I can. There's no vaccines for Canada, unfortunately. We're not doing vaccines up here.
I heard.
We've decided to give them to everybody else instead. So We'll be okay though. But as soon as I
are doing them, you guys are getting them. It's just that you only got like 20.
Yeah. That's, however it works, it's yeah, they said fight for it. I don't know. It'll be okay. It'll be
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing about the setting of like the Memphis in May or the Royal is, barbecue people, for the most part, they'll come in and they'll tell you exactly what they do. They'll say, hey, this is how I cook my brisket. This is what I do to it. Most people have no problem telling you that. The difference between them and someone like me is they can take that and replicate it 150 times over and have it be exactly the same. They know if they teach you, you know some of the secrets, but you might only be able to get this 180 score brisket 50 out of 150 times, or there'll be some variables that unless you do it, that they know you're not going to be able to replicate right away. But they don't have a problem telling you that or teaching you that, because hey, if you can go and do it, all the power to you.
Yeah. That's one thing actually I learned. KCBS judging up in Canada, the top 10 are kind of just the top 10 everywhere. And they're literally replicating everything they're doing every single time.
Mm-hmm.
And they're kind of just going to take that top 10 every time.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the best of the best. So it's pretty cool. And you're 100% right, Chris. Once you get a good system, and Dave, this is just like you were talking about your rub, once you figure something out and it's locked in, you tend to just repeat it. And it tends to work every single time, right? So.
No. Yeah, my parents, they were in on, helping out a team on the barbecue circuit for a while. And, their team, I think they won the Jim Beam one year. And they got to go to the Jack Daniels. I don't think they did the Royal. But, they were cooking, and they cooked next to Darren Worth from Smoky D's Barbecue in Iowa. The guy is amazing. And I was sitting there, and, he would turn in his box, and then he would come over with his little aluminum tray afterwards and say, here, try this. So I'm getting to try his brisket, his pulled pork, his ribs. I mean, this guy is, I know one year he won the Sam's Club big competition too. So, I mean, this is, top 5 in the nation barbecue that I got to try. And it was just, it's just amazing to hear, see how he does it, but then just know that he can do that and do that
every time.
30 weekends a year.
Yeah.
Mel, what's the big barbecue competitions or festivals in Canada? Do they have some? I'm sure they do.
So the big one in Edmonton is Porkapalooza, and it's usually Father's Day weekend. It's massive. It's the biggest one. Yeah, it's
Porkapalooza.
Well, you know how it is. Edmonton's a rock town, man. Rock city. So Porkapalooza is huge. There's a couple in Ontario, and then they trickle through the provinces, but the biggest one is definitely Porkapalooza. It's I don't know. It's not like the States. Like, it's starting to get better. This COVID thing really ruined it for everybody. But there's one in Calgary, barbecue on the Bow Valley Barbecue. It's a nice setup there, right on the river. It's awesome, but it's nothing like the Royal or the Jack or Memphis.
Yeah, one time, just by happenstance, Bert and I were performing in Kansas City. It's before the theater tours. We were just at the club there. And I asked the lady at the front desk, like, hey, what's the closest, famous barbecue joint here in Kansas City? And she goes, oh, well, this weekend they're having a barbecue festival at the Speedway. It was the Royal. We just happened to be there. I didn't even know. And so I started talking about barbecue on stage that night at the comedy club, and the guy came up to me after and goes, hey, my team's competing, come hang out. So then we went the next day and hung out, and that's the only experience I have with some of the festivals here. So, I mean, I got to get into it. I mean, I don't really care that much about cooking under my own brand and getting a trophy or an award for MEATDAVE barbecue or anything like that. But I do think it would be really fun to go cook with somebody and learn and watch the process and what people go. And plus, I just hear they're all a big party. It's just a huge social. Which for me, going to water polo tournaments, I'm very like when I was in college, especially, or masters tournaments. Like, obviously, I care about doing well, and I care about being ready to perform and have a good water polo. But half the fun is going and seeing all your buddies that are on other water polo teams, and then going out and having a beer that night, or having a big, like. I see the guys on my team all the time, but see my buddies on the other teams, it's just really fun to go, like, have that camaraderie.
Yep. Well, that's us with Eggfest, man. Eggtoberfest is like Big Green Egg Super Bowl. Man, it's massive. How many people were there? 5,000? Like, I don't even remember. It was gigantic.
Yeah.
The entire Stone Mountain, Georgia is like, it's huge. Yeah, it's massive. And here we are. We're like the top of this thing. There's competitors all over us. And we're just like in the middle of the biggest party in the city that day. It's so cool, man. And that's why I just freak out with this barbecue stuff, because it's always so cool. And everyone just lets you right in. And it's just the people you meet, the places you go, the parties you end up at. Like, it's, oh. Yeah.
What's the Big Green Egg event like? It's only Big Green Egg. That's it. The whole thing.
So it is. It's actually put on by Big Green Egg, and what they do is they sell Cook's tickets. So if you buy Cook's tickets, you get an egg, and that gets you and somebody else to cook. And I've actually competed in it twice. We've had big teams with like Instagram influencers and friends that we met from all over the nation. We came together. First year I did it, we took second. Second year I did it, we took first. And there's 400 cooks that are in this. And you're cooking stuff for all the 3,000 people that come through. So you got to have samples for these guys. You know, our cook team the year we won it had 14 people, and we cooked 5 or 6 different dishes that we were passing out. And then they all voted. The last Inktoberfest we went to, or actually got to meet Mel. Him and I are part of BG Team Green, which is kind of their pro team or their influencer team. So we got to just kind of party, and that was probably the most fun I've ever had at Eggfest.
And party we did. Crip walking on the walls at 4:00 in the morning with the Mexican crew. Party we did. That's it.
Mel cooking 350 pounds of wings.
It was crazy. It was, man. I met every person that was there.
So I don't doubt that for 1 second. So if everyone's cooking on the same smoker, more or less, right? And you had that good finish where you were up towards the top there, what did you cook and what set you apart do you think that allowed you to do so well?
So for that year we did so we did beer braised brisket tostadas with hatch chili beer cheese. We did Asian pork belly burned ends with an Asian slaw. We did pulled pork quesadillas. Reuben. So we made some homemade pastrami. Then we smoked that and did Reuben wontons that we deep fried on the egg. So those are all different things that we passed out. That, and then, it's a popularity contest too, so it's people's choice. So when you have, some of the more of the well-known Instagram people, that certainly helped us too. But the fact that we were able to cook out those 5 different things for that amount of people was pretty awesome.
Anytime you can cook next to Jack Arnold, you're winning. Just saying. Anytime you can even shimmy while you're cooking wings next to Jack Arnold, any of them Snake River, Tomahawk, Gold Grade, it just, this shit writes itself, man. It's like, the party that's had is nuts, man. I'm so grateful every single day. I'm blessed to get in there. The winner's circle.
So how does it work? So let's just say COVID disappears hypothetically, and they have Eggtoberfest, right? So if you guys put together, do you put together a team or is it individual? Like, can I come cook with you? Like, how does it work?
Yeah, so you can. We built our own team. So our team was, we would get we had 7 people get Cook's tickets, so we had 14 people that would make that team. We could have had 7 different teams if we wanted to, but we all combined together to make one team. They just have X amount of eggs. The benefit for Big Green Egg is that they then sell those eggs that are cooked on for like $200 cheaper. Then they'll sell them as demo eggs, and they'll sell out all 400 eggs in that day.
Yeah.
So that's a big benefit for them, to be able to move, $400,000 grills in a day is pretty impressive.
Well, no, and we saw that. We saw people coming from like across the country to this event to check everything out and then buy a demo egg on their way out. Like, it was really cool. It was,
it's an exhibition.
Yeah, they had it all figured out. Like, the whole thing was like locked down. It was. They've been doing this since what, 78 or 82 or something?
The Eggtoberfest, actually, it was to 1999, I think, because the year 97. We won it in 2017, and that was the 20th Egg Fest.
Okay, yeah.
Like I'm down to check it out, man. If you guys, if you guys do it, let me know. I'm down to check it out, man.
We got you, brother. We got you.
Hey, are people still watching and having fun? Are we gonna talk for a little while longer? Because if so, I'm gonna go pee real quick.
See, that's what he's like. How long? How long before I make it awkward? And I'm just gonna disappear. I'm like, don't worry, it'll be okay.
I'm good. I just have to pee really bad.
All right, I'll join you. Chris, can you just talk to everybody for a minute?
Sure.
No. Mel, let's not go at the same time. Like,
I'll be good.
Mel, you hang in there. I'll go.
You go,
and I'll come back real fast. And then you go after I get back. All right.
We'll swap it out. Perfect. Have fun, buddy. I love it.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. October is kind of that window where you start to think, could it actually happen this year?
I hope so, buddy.
I mean,
I hope so. Fingers crossed, man.
Yeah, I mean, barring some sort of second big resurgence like they had in 1918, you would think that October would be opening up. And
did you see my Sunday post that I was doing about? I was using that Rhetoric, the Rhetoric Bourbon.
Oh yeah. The 23-year.
Yeah, can I tell you a story about this? Right.
Yep. That's Orphan Barrel.
That was 2 drinks.
Oof.
The first one was like a little bit, and then the second one was like most of it.
And then you were feeling good.
I was feeling great.
Yeah, that Rhetoric, because that's the 23-year, right?
Yeah. No, that's the greasy part, is that you have to wipe from your mind how much you paid right off the bat. Because if you put that into 2 drinks, like, that's insanity. Like, that's stupid. But sure tastes good. Oh. I don't like sand. There you go.
I have the Forged Oak, which is only the 15-year of that, and it's pretty solid. Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we're getting the shaft up here, let me tell you. It's been pretty rough.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Well,
it is what it is. There's not much we can do, but yeah. I don't know. I'm hoping a few things break loose here. I anticipate I will for sure be doing another trip to Toronto as soon as I can. Before summer, I'll be doing another trip to Toronto, so that's good. And like we're doing our Invermere trip right now.
Where's the Eggtoberfest? It's in Atlanta?
Yes.
Yep. So it's in. They do it at Stone Mountain Park.
Oh yeah.
Just outside of it.
No matter what's happening, I mean, it might be a little harder for Mel because of the international travel, but the Eggtoberfest is going to happen. They're doing all kinds of events in Georgia. In the United States, it's like, I got the hiccups now. It just matters. It's like, some places are a lot more loosey-goosey with the restrictions than others. So, barring like a new strain that like is absolutely a murderer, like I think everything will be fine by like at least have like a toned down event.
Yeah,
and I have a lot of family in that area, man. My cousin owns a couple really cool restaurants not too far from there. So any excuse to go to Atlanta, man, I'm in. And we can definitely pull it off. And I would love to go there and experience that with you guys if you'd have me.
It's it's pretty awesome. You just get to walk around and just visit people and chat with them. And I'm ready to go. I'm fully vaccinated, so I'm like, let's go, let's travel. My wife, on the other hand, she's 37 and healthy.
Because you're a nurse during the day or whatever, yeah.
Right. So my wife, on the other hand, she won't travel until she's vaccinated. And I'm like, well, you're 37 and healthy, but at least on the plus side, she'll get it before Canada.
Yeah. Yeah, Mel's done.
I'll be fine. They'll be like, Canadians are just too strong to get it, so we should be okay.
Yeah, they're well pickled.
Yeah, true story.
We're worried about you, Mel.
Yeah, no, and you know what?
All right, Mel, I'm kicking it up, buddy.
There you go. Oh, fancy. That's what we were talking about. He was like, how long is this going to go? I'm like, well, how long can we keep it? And then that's once the bearings get greased, right? She tends to steamroll. It's a good time. We had Derek Wolf on here. We had Derek Wolf over the fire cooking.
And he
was awesome, man. He was pouring heavy. Like it was great. We talked about everything. The
problem was we went for 2 hours on the show.
You just gotta set the tone.
Another hour and a half.
We went off and then we kept talking for like another hour and a half. It was crazy. Yeah, because
that's when the truth comes out.
The green room, man. That's everybody that has been in the green room is like, that's the place. That's where you want to be, is in the... Oh, look at them. Them walks there. Look at you.
Yeah, that's some California hair right there.
Oh, there you go. Buddy. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I love it.
What's up, brah?
Mm-hmm.
You guys want to hang 10, brah?
That's the... So we got a guest coming on next week or the week after. Zach, my man from Magnum PI. He's living on the island, the big island I think he's living on in Hawaii. He cooks on the Big Green Egg all the time, and me and him are
an actor on the current.
Yes. He's the co-star, I believe, on Magnum PI. He is a beauty, and
Zach Knighton.
Zach Knighton, there you go.
Well, I'm a big Tom Selleck fan, though.
Well, I know. I understand. The hand, I understand. It's this guy is such a... So, right away, I'm like, if you guys ever need, like, a super villain for your TV show, you should just fly me out. Because I've already got the gut.
Mel.
I tan in, like, 2 days, and I can, like, blatantly gold myself up if need be. Don't worry about that. Just get me to Hawaii, and I will super villain you like you don't... Do I get a cigar boat? Right away, give me a cigar boat, and then we're... He's like, I'm not going to have any part of this. That's not what we're doing at all here.
You are, Mel, you are a superstar in the making, buddy. You are such a sweethearted character. Like, the accent and the handlebar mustache and the catchphrases. You're gonna get there, buddy. It's not gonna be a Magnum PI what breaks you. It's gonna be the barbecue personality and getting on some sort of a TV show or something. But you got the goods, buddy.
I don't think you could be a villain, anyways.
I could definitely be a villain.
I don't think you got it in you. I'm going to. Oh, sorry.
You're too sweet. You're too
sorry.
Sorry. That's
sorry, eh?
These sharks have laser beams. Sorry. Yeah. See? Haha. There you go. Yeah. That's. I filled your hot tub full of barracudas. Haha. Sorry. That's it. Yeah. That's.
Oh, and the mullet. Yeah, and the mullet. Someone says. Yeah. The
mullet. Yeah. She's paid for. Whatever.
So I've seen older photos of you when you were just a sweet-faced young married guy or whatever, you know? At what point did you embrace this personality of it. It's like you look at Guy Fieri, and Guy Fieri, like, you know, he's up there and he's a lot longer in the tooth these days, but he still makes that feathered bleached hair look so good, you know. And you just wonder, like, what point did he flip the switch to being like? Because I'll tell you, I sampled it a little bit. I've always been a clean cut dude, you know. And then when the quarantine hit, and then we went out on the road in the tour bus normally in the tour bus, we go for 3 days and we fly home. And then we go for 3 days and we fly home, right? So we're back and forth. But now, since we can't fly, we would go on the tour bus, be gone for a month. So I grew my mustache out. I'd never grown a mustache in my life, right? So I had the COVID haircut and I had the mustache. And it was the first time where I felt like I got a little bit of a character that represents who I am. You know what I mean? And I loved it. It was my wife won't kiss me when I have a mustache. Otherwise, I would have it all the time. I loved it. So I just wonder, at what point did you flip the switch where you went from just being like, you know, a normal dude to going, I'm just gonna rock the handlebar. I'm gonna get a tattoo on my hand, and it's not a fake character. It's who you are, but it's embracing who you are at this point in your life. I think that's my question.
So the handlebars came from me having to shave my beard off to fit a respirator. And if you follow OSHA's laws, this tucks into my respirator, and I am still legally able to wear a respirator. Because I'm a welder by trade, I was no longer allowed, when our shop finally got their core and did all of the safety regulations, the first thing they were like, you have to shave that deadly beard off, man. I'm sorry. And the day they did that, the porn star stash was born. Yeah, no, I was like, I'm not gonna do it. And if I have to do it, Chris remembered, like, I used to have what he was sporting, and I used to be quite comfortable in there. And then when they took it away from me, I was like, all right, I'll just tie this together and tuck it into my mask, and now we're safe again. We're good. And this is how this sprung out. The mullet, I've always loved to grow my hair out. The wife hates it because I get these big, stupid ringlets. Because my hair is just beautiful all the time. There's nothing I can do about it. It's just, so I get these big, beautiful ringlets, and I can't grow my hair out because the wife just complains like crazy. So I've always kept it kind of tight. But the mullet is just evolution. Like, it just came. There was too many changes happening, and I had to fight back somehow. And it just blew out the back, and it blew down the face. And it just was too comfy. And she's like, well, whatever. Right? You look clean in pictures. And I was like, so we're good then. and that was the end of it. As long as I got the half nod, I was like, I'm running with it then. That's it.
So the real story is you have a very understanding wife.
Yes, I literally will do just about as much as she puts up with.
Yeah.
That's how I'm never on fire, right? We don't have too many crazy stories that we put up and have to delete in the morning or anything, because she's on the ball more than anybody else. That's the
Amen, dude. We're all better men for having those women behind us, man. Look, dude, we got a vaccine because of it.
That's like quite literally. The wife was like, "You would have died at 25 if it weren't for me." And I was like, yeah, "True story." All right, we'll play that through. Yeah, that's yeah.
So, hey, tell me a little bit about so you were talking earlier about how you've been hitting up Shane from SG Metalworks to help you with the welding. Tell me a little bit about, because you're a very experienced welder, but you've never welded your own pit before. So what's this experience been like? Did you have to, like, tell me about the science of figuring out how big to make the firebox and the exhaust and everything, and curing the inside of the probe? I want to know all about that, man. Because so Shane's was a guest on my podcast, which is going to come out this week, actually, his episode. Meet Dave. Subscribe to that on all platforms that you listen to podcasts.
Yep.
But if I was super curious about that. I don't know a lot about that world.
So here's the deal. I have built I don't know, maybe 10 offsets now. In the last couple of years, I have built quite a few, not rigged, nothing on a trailer, but 80 gallons, 100 gallons, 125 gallons. I've built quite a few.
Okay.
My absolute favorite rig that I built, Darth Angus, she lives on my deck. She weighs 1,400 pounds, and she will never move.
Oh, you did build.
Yes. So Darth Angus was
that
my.
You built that.
So every time I made a design change, I flipped the old one because it was easier for me to sell it and then just build another one than for me to try and bring it back and strip the paint or whatever, right? So I've built maybe 10 or 12 now. But Darth Angus was the best designed one that I ever did, and I kept it, built the deck around it, built the backyard around it. This one is my first, like over 250 gallons. I've never needed something that had to have a dual axle trailer. This is crazy. This is way out of my... And then, like you said, you get into the science of where do you set the firebox? How high does the grill situate from that hole in the firebox? How big is the hole for the firebox to that? What kind of insulation? Because of up here especially, I had to insulate and double insulate my firebox. And then you're working out vents. Do you do slider vents or do you do baffles? The whole... Man, there's a lot of science in barbecue, and it's neat to be able to do both sides of it. It's neat to be able to build it and then also cook on it. It's really cool. Like, we got a buddy who was on the show the one time. He does workhorse pits, right? And he runs his workhorse pits. Wow, he's not in here tonight, unfortunately, but that workhorse pit that he bought, absolutely phenomenal. Like, everything was just so tight and meticulous on it. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, it's gonna work. Like, tackle a brisket right away. He's like, oh, I'm gonna mess around with ribs and blah blah. I'm like, you're wasting your time. Like, throw a brisket on it right now. Get to know her. Give her a handshake, right? That's how it's going to happen. Don't pussyfoot around. Just get into it. And it's with stick burners especially, man. You have to get to know your rig. And it's all on how it's built. If the firebox is lower, right, it's going to run a lower temperature. If the firebox is higher, it's going to run a higher temperature. That rig is now set like that forever. Doesn't matter what you burn, what you put in it, how you deal with it. It comes straight from the factory like that. And it's so nice for me, the barbecue family, Shane especially, to get some insight from people that have built hundreds of them, where I've only built a couple, and fine-tune this shit into a way that I'm like totally comfortable building an entire trailer rig, 21 feet long. Like, it's going to be nuts. I can't wait. So pumped.
So being such an experienced welder and loving barbecue the way you do you ever see a point in time when maybe you make that more of a focus where you're building pits for people more regularly?
Because I'd be welding more than I do now for the oil field. I hope my boss isn't watching, but like, we don't bust a lot of it's not so strenuous at work. You know what I mean? Whereas if I was building pits, I'd be like, let's go. We got margins, we got whatever, right? Like, I do all right in what I'm doing. I don't want to rock the boat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that
it just depends on demand, I guess, because like Shane, he's got a waiting list, like,
No, that's the other thing, right? I don't even know what it's like up here, and I won't know until I'm done this one, at least. If it goes that way, then so be it, right? I could easily start up a shop, but I don't think the demand up here is the same as it is down there. Just because of our temperatures, right? Everything's part-time up here.
Just give it 4 to 5 years.
Yeah, you only have 10 people in your town.
And 17 wolves.
But that might be where the opportunity is, honestly, man, because that's the way it was here too. Because Texas and Oklahoma, obviously there was a demand for smokers, but there was not a demand for smokers in Los Angeles and for California. But because there wasn't a demand, there was no one building them. So then now there is a demand. These guys who were pioneers in the, there's like 2 Fat Stacks in SG Metalworks. Yep. Maybe one other person is like building custom smokers out here. They all have waiting lists because It's timing it right for that boom,
Oh, my man G Stacks, right?
And I think it's going to be. I think.
Have you been to G Stacks' place? G Stacks' place. So he's with Warren G and Snoop Dogg.
Oh, where's that?
He's in Southern California.
Yeah. Sniffin' Griffin, fool.
Yeah, that's
Warren G.
As soon as I saw that, I was like, "What, man? He's playing with like players," and he's calling everybody uncle. And all of a sudden, Snoop Dogg's got a car. He's got a concert, and Buddy that built his pit is like in the back row. I'm like, "What? I got to get on that." But hockey players aren't going to invite me to their place to barbecue. So,
so I bet they will actually. So a couple like celebrity barbecue. Everyone knows Dave Grohl from Foo Fighters, is super into barbecue and smoking meat. I've had on my podcast Zach Myers from the band Shinedown, which is a pretty popular band out here in the States.
Yep.
He's a Memphis guy. He cooks when they're on tour and everything. And so Warren G is a big time barbecue guy here in Long Beach. And so I reached out to him to try to get him on my podcast, and I couldn't get through to him. So then he put out a thing where he was going to do during quarantine, like a Warren G quarantine cook-off. So I applied for it, and they called me immediately, and they go, "You're in." So I did a right here from my whiskey barrel top. I did a Instagram live with Warren G, and I cooked pork grenades, which was I did pulled pork, and then I hollowed out some avocados, and I put the pulled pork and Havarti cheese, and then I put the avocado back together with the pulled pork and Havarti cheese in the middle of it like an egg, and then I wrapped it in bacon, and then I smoked it for another hour. And I'd never done it before. I just found that recipe online. I think I found it on the Rectech website actually, and so I did them, and they were awesome, and the display of them was so cool because you cut the bacon and you open the avocado back up, and the cheese just melts out with the pulled pork. It's so killer. So I did that with him, and then they never crowned a winner because the stay at home got so crazy. It's like they stopped doing them.
Yep. Well, I know the guy who designed his seasoning line. And
yeah,
he's
I
up
have
here.
him in my cabinet right now, man.
He's up here in Canada. So there you go.
That's crazy. Well, I asked permission. And he said, all right. So I ripped the audio from the live stream I did with Warren G, and I put it as an episode of my podcast. So technically I had Warren G on my podcast.
Oh, that's deadly, man. That's the thing. That blew my mind when he first broke out. And I was like, Warren G's got 7,000 followers. I was like, what is happening here? Y'all don't know he barbecues? Like, everybody get on this. This is crazy. And the dude was literally just slanging. He was at a tailgater party, and it was Warren G with his glasses, his hood was up, and I was like, that's Warren fucking G. Like, how are you not freaking out right now? The man barbecues every weekend whenever possible. And that was some of the old players I used to bang with way back in the day were around, and I'm like, look, you think I'm crazy? That's Warren G. And they're like, what? Warren G smokes meat. I'm like, it's cool now, fuckers. Like, pay attention. This is it. This is the ticket, right? Warren G's doing it. We're all winners now. It was so good. It was so good. I got so excited when I saw that. I was crazy.
He always goes, sniffing Griffins, fool.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. Yeah, because that's the regulator, and I like all all the time. I'm like,
listen, I grew up in Miami, Florida, and I graduated from high school in 1996. I'm a little familiar with Warren G's rights, okay?
Every time I touch my egulator, that's all I can think. Like that's all I do every single time. Like it's
Whoa, it's a brand new era. G-Funk step to this, I dare you. Funk with a whole new level. With the rhythm is the bass and the bass is the treble.
I love it. Oh, I absolutely love it.
At ease.
You gotta
Oh, it's so good, man.
Pork
It's,
grenades.
oh,
With a,
yeah, I gotta check them pork grenades out, man. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. So
I
here's a
did
question for you.
smoked. Yeah, what's up?
Here's a question for you. So Oktoberfest, it's all about making that dish that sounds good. Now I know you had your pork grenades. So say you had to cook for 1,000 people, you're going to hand out one bite to them, something that's going to wow them. What are you going to throw down with?
So it could be anything, and it could be anything. It's got to be in the smoker, and it's one bite to make an impression.
Yeah.
So it's got to be something I can cook in volume well, and it's got to be something that's going to leave an impression with one bite. Thanks, Shane.
Yeah, there you go.
He doesn't like my rap. He doesn't like my rapping. Well, I think that that's a tough one, man. If I had to go with something traditional, I would have the most confidence in my pork ribs, I think.
Uh-huh.
But I think a lot of people would do pork ribs in that category. So I would probably go with something a little unorthodox, like the pork grenades I just mentioned, or something like a pulled pork sandwich, and I would make sure I sourced some really good bread and like some really good slaw, something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Man,
that's how you kill those, hands down.
Right.
I hate to be that guy, but any kind of competition, it's the side bits. Because everyone's smoking at like this level of barbecue or better. It's the sauces, it's the coleslaws, it's the buns that are gonna change the game with that stuff. 100%.
I'll give you an example. There a really big deal in South Florida when I lived in Miami was the South Beach Food and Wine Festival. And they had all these events throughout the week. And since I worked at the car dealership, Cadillac was a sponsor. We would get tickets to go. So I took my wife one of the first years, and they had Burger Bash. So these burger restaurants and chefs from all over the country would make their best burger. And they would cut it into fourths. So you get one bite of a burger and you go to the next booth, right? So you're taking one bite of a burger from 20 different vendors. So the one that won and the one that I voted number one out of 20, like Rachel Ray was there, like all these famous chefs and restaurants, the one that I rated number one was Shake Shack. I had never heard of Shake Shack at the time, but the burger was killer on that one bite, but they added a thimble of their chocolate milkshake on the side. So it was just the fact that you got the burger and then the chocolate milkshake. It just set it apart.
Yeah.
And those little things are the things that, to me, that like make a big difference. So, you know, if I was doing something like that where I had to really make an impression, I would probably come up with something where it's like pulled pork and mac and cheese mixed together, or a pulled pork sandwich, or the pork bomb, or something like that, I think.
Yep.
So the year before...
here's one more I'll give you, too. Very underrated. And Mel knows that I feel this way because we've talked about it. Chicken thighs. Everyone wants to do chicken wings. You throw a chicken thigh out there with a nice honey glaze on it or something. Yeah. That's a winning bite right there.
100%.
Last night I did a honey Dijon boneless, skinless chicken thighs, and it was fantastic.
Yeah.
The honey just caramelizes nicely, so much flavor, very juicy. But yeah, one of the dishes we did in the first year we did Oktoberfest was we did a pulled pork mac and cheese egg roll. So we had the pulled pork and the sauce and the mac and cheese inside the egg roll that we deep fried on the egg. And, you know, we cut the whole, man. That was just absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh.
And that's why you need a big green egg, so you can get deep fry them.
Sounds like a fun time. Oh. Yeah. You know what else is a showstopper if you can only give someone one bite? Is candy bacon.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, candy bacon is a hard hitter.
Candy bacon or a pork belly burnt end.
Yeah,
that'd be a good one. That's a big one. You know, you get the little pork pillows there, and that's where, you know, we had like little shot glasses with the Asian slaw and then the Asian pork belly burnt end right on top, so people would just take it and almost take it like a shot. And it was was perfect.
Well, I was trying to think last year or the year before at the Eggtoberfest, the Canadians. I think they did like a maple something tacos. Maybe I don't remember, but I remember seeing somewhere there was a maple bacon taco, and it was phenomenal. Like, it was really good. And that's how you win that kind of shit. It's just something on the back end you didn't expect to happen. Right? Some kind of play on something where it's tasty and flavorful and sugary and awesome, and then it wins.
Yeah, I could totally see that. You know, I had this is random and on another subject, but so there's a big food festival here in LA. I don't even remember what they call it. It's like LA Food Week. It's not barbecue like specific. It's like LA Food Week or something like that, whatever. And so this lady who's a chef here in town, her brother is a barbecue guy in Austin. And so they wanted to team up and do something for LA Food Week, right? The competition. So she decided to do smoked jackfruit tacos.
Oh.
And I never knew what jackfruit was at that point. Apparently, it's kind of like the consistency of pulled pork. So it's like something that vegetarians and vegans do.
Yep.
And so she needed a smoker, basically. And so she put it on social media, and someone networked into her into me, and they were like, "Hey, Dave, can we use your smoker for the weekend?" And I go, "Yeah, sure." So they came here, and they cooked all their food in my front yard, then transported it down to downtown for the festival. And they just smoked jackfruits in my smoker, and then made these tacos and put them down there. And I wasn't home when they finished them, so I didn't get to try one. And I've always wondered whether it's legit or not.
Oh.
But that's the kind of out of the box thinking you got to think. Like, let's find someone who's got a legit smoker somewhere in the LA area that we can put out some volume and do something that could win a competition. You know?
Yeah. No, and that's how you're absolutely right. That's how it goes. With the chili con carnes, right? This was the thing I accidentally threw up without even meaning to, a question about, do you put beans in your chili or not? And the hate mail I got, and the people that hounded me and all kinds of crazy shit. And out of that, there were people from Southern California that were like, put pineapples in the motherfucker. I was like, what are you talking about? You don't put pineapple in chili. Like, I'm still trying to gestate the beans and what. And then the dudes were like, look, I've won several competitions. I will show you the medals from me putting minced up pineapple in my chili. And I was like, you're all on mushrooms, obviously. You're all on mushrooms and just having too much fun on the beach. And when the sand and everything finally gets out of your skin, like, you're not going to be... So then I did it. I just cooked the chili. I cooked the chili, brisket chili, with the pineapple. It's no joke. It's no joke at all. Like, how could you not do that? After you have it, it's like, why doesn't everybody do this? Well, because you're putting pineapples in chili. A lot of people can't even put beans in the motherfucker, never mind pineapples. What are you thinking? Like, why are you trying to do this? But now, like, the abomination has gone so far past that. I'm like, well, what else we could put in chili? I want to know everything that you can put in the chili now. Because this chili was phenomenal. Like, tell me what else goes in here. Because it was crazy. It was that good. It was that good.
Peanut butter or cocoa powder?
No, that's what I mean. Like, open the floodgates. I don't even care now. Like, you took something that was a staple and you blew the doors off it already. Like, it doesn't even matter now. Fill it up with...
Dude, that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying earlier, man. You never stop learning, dude. There's so much shit to learn from people out there. You know what I would love to learn from you, Mel, either right now or down the road if you give me a call, is I know that you're very experienced and do a good job with that picanha. I've never tried one before. I would love to do it.
Oh, buddy, I got you the easiest step-by-step playbook for picanha. It'll be deadly. You could have the Prince of Persia over, and he'd be very excited to have it. So just Cliff Notes. How do I buy it? Is it pork belly with the skin on it? What do I buy for that? It is a beef sirloin cap. Or for anybody watching, don't go to my Costco, but go to somebody else's Costco and buy the Colette steak.
Culat.
The
Yep.
Culat steak. It is the top cap of the sirloin, cut down that seam, I guess you'd call it, and it's the top cap with the fat cap on it. Fat cap has to be on it, or you've already gone too far.
So
Okay.
I'm sure
it comes from the same primal as your tri-tip comes from. It's just
Yep.
from the other end of that primal.
tri-tip cap.
Okay.
Yeah, it's dude.
All right.
Trust
Well,
me.
I'm gonna hit you up when I'm sober, and I wanna tackle this.
The best thing you can do: salt brine it the day before, flip it upside down onto its fat cap,
Okay.
sprinkle some salt on it, leave it in the fridge for a day, right? And then come back if you're cutting it into steaks, crimp it up, throw it on some skewers, throw it on that wildfire thing. They're perfect every time, man. I've
Here's
had
a que-
yes.
Go ahead.
No, I'm done. That's I just
Oh.
kind
So
of
here's a question for you guys. That if anyone's still listening, maybe they could learn something. When you guys are gonna do something traditional like pork ribs, beef ribs, brisket, do you rub it and then let it sit in the fridge overnight, or do you rub it before you throw it in the smoker? I'll give you my answer, and then you guys give me your answer, okay?
Yep.
I've done it both ways, and I don't like to rub it and let it sit because if you have too much salt in your rub, it draws all the moisture out. So
Yeah.
I like to throw it on maybe about a maximum about an hour before. Sometimes it's 5 minutes before, and then I just pat it down real good. But I like to do it kind of fresh before I throw it in the smoker. Some people say you do it overnight, but I feel like that draws too much moisture out of it. What do you guys think?
So what I do is typically when I'm lighting my smoker and I'm letting it kind of settle in at the temp, that's when I'll usually rub it down. I'll rub it down, let it sit at room temp for about an hour. Partly because I'm lazy and don't always think about to do it the night before. If I do it the night before, unlike steak, where if I season the steak the night before, I'm going to quick dry brine it or let it, get that 24-hour dry age. I'll let that open to air. If I'm going to do something like ribs or pork butt the day before, I'll wrap it tightly with saran wrap, so it can kind of hold that moisture in a little bit more. And then I still hit it
And
again
soak
with
it.
right before I put it on. But honestly, I'd say 9 out of 10 times it's within an hour of putting it on.
Yeah, that's mine as well. Mine's an hour. Mine is legit 1 hour. I will pull it out, let it sit on the counter for a half hour, then I'll trim it. I'll season it right away, and then I'll let it sit there while I go fire everything up, stabilize everything, then come grab it, throw it on there. It's been an hour every time. Yeah.
All right. So if I told you guys you had to make a rub right now, so you have every ingredient in the world available to you to make a rub, and that's the rub you got to use for everything you smoke for the rest of your life. Explain to me making your rub.
I can't.
Salt, pepper, garlic.
You don't want to give away the secrets? I'll tell you mine. Wait, say it again, Chris.
Salt, pepper, garlic, a little bit of paprika, and maybe just a touch of like thyme in there, and that would be about it.
All right. This is what I tell people when they ask me. I go, do 80%, 40%, 40% of coarse or kosher salt and coarse pepper, right? So 40% kosher salt, 40% coarse pepper. I go, and then 20% mix in whatever feels good to you. I go paprika, onion powder, garlic powder, whatever, pepper flakes, whatever feels good to you. Just do that little tiny percent, but 80% of it, just make it that salt and pepper. And, and then mix it up. Make sure you mix it up in between. Every time you're going to shake it on the meat, mix it up again because everything's different consistencies. So if you don't mix it up, it's going to end up being like a bunch of salt dumps out or whatever, That's the advice I give to everybody.
Yeah. No, I go kind of you know, if you got the coriander, right? You got the paprika. Are you doing like a granulated honey? It gets a bit funny for me, where I'm trying to find what I'm trying to cook.
Mm-hmm.
It's always different. Like my brisket is salt, pepper, garlic. That's it. It's never changed. It's always going to be salt, pepper, garlic. It's worked so well in the past. It's the flavor that I'm jonesing for when I think of like, ooh, I need a brisket sandwich on a sourdough bun. Half of what I want is just the bark. Half of what I want is too much pepper and too much salt to hit my face before I sink into that beefy, savory. It is what it is. It's all part of the scene of that sandwich, right? So salt, pepper, garlic on brisket, it is what it is. But pork gets funky, right? And if you're going Texas style pork, as opposed to like a Mexican style pork, everything changes. Your Tex-Mex, right? I don't know. It's a tough one to be buttoned down to one rub for the rest of your life.
I know you said no, like you were trying to
I was panicking right away.
But I felt like you were saying no because I put you in an uncomfortable situation with that hypothetical.
Well, no, because like right away I'm like, I can't commit to one kind of pork butt. I can't. Like I don't know, because there's so many different kinds of pork butt. I did one over the live fire on the rotisserie with jerk. I did a jerk pork butt over the rotisserie, and the sugars in that jerk rub with the Scotch bonnet and everything caramelized like a motherfucker. It was so good. Like it was. If I could do a pork butt just like that. Oh.
With the jerk seasoning, and then I injected it with pineapple juice.
Yeah.
And then I had like a white jerk rub.
That's what I mean. Like there's so many different options that it's tough to commit to just one and be like, that's what I want to do. Yeah, I can't even. Ugh. Yeah, stress right out.
What's the best thing you've ever cooked where you were kind of surprised? All right, so here I'll give you an example of what mine is, and then maybe you'll understand what I'm asking. So when we went on tour during COVID, I ordered a bunch of meat to bring with us, and my buddy, who's a meat dealer here in LA, and he can ship anywhere, by the way. It's Logan Cahoon from Premier Meat Company. So I wanted to bring a Wagyu brisket with me, right, just as a treat. Well, he thought he was doing me a favor, and he told the people, like, hey, give him the biggest one we have. So this had to be a 25-pound Wagyu brisket. Took up the entire freezer in the tour bus. It was gigantic. So I'm cooking it in that Rectech, and I'm like, man, this is going to take like 24 hours to cook. This is going to be ridiculous. But for whatever reason, I feel like the Wagyu ones cook a little faster. I cook at 225 no matter what. I like to cook. If I'm cooking on the offset, and I always tell people if they're cooking on live fire, shoot for 250, because then if you have an issue and you lose temp or gain temp, you're probably going to keep it between 225 to 275, and all that's fine for anything you cook. But if you're cooking on a pellet smoker or a digital smoker where you know that the temperature is going to be really locked in, then 225, just go for it, right? Low and slow, right? Great. So I was cooking that Wagyu brisket at 225. I somehow finished a 25-pound Wagyu brisket in about 10 and a half hours. I don't know how it cooked that fast, but it did.
They cook fast.
And I let it rest for about an hour, and then we sliced it because we were ready to eat. And that was the thing where I was the most. And by the way, when we're in the tour bus, sometimes I have like everything I need. Sometimes I run out of rub, and I got to just kind of like throw together a rub with what I got, you know? So I kind of just threw some shit together. And sometimes I don't even have apple cider vinegar, so we don't have a runner that day. So I got to just use beer or whiskey or some water to spritz it with. So yeah, it's really fun. It's like Survivor of smoke. I mean, when I'm here, I don't have any excuse if I don't have my ingredients. It means I was lazy, I didn't go to the store. We're on the road. You got to use what you got, you know?
Yep.
So that 25-pound Wagyu brisket came out so fucking good, man.
Yeah.
I'm proud of that. And not only did it taste great, but just aesthetically, it looked fantastic. And I don't know how I pulled it off, but it could barely fit that.
I'm not gonna lie. I heard Bert's comments about like something about Wagyu and then bruised knees. I was like, yeah, I get it. I get where you're going. Like, yeah, if something tasted like Wagyu briskets, I'd have bruised knees. Yeah, that was the.
So, I'm the opposite way when I cook brisket. I'm a hot and fast guy. So, I cook. I'm on Snake River Farms, their influencer team. So I cook the Snake River Farm briskets, and that's all American Wagyu. And my last one that I cooked, I think I got done, it was a 14-pounder. I think I got it done in just over 4 hours. I think it was 4 hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So I go pretty hot and fast with them.
Wait. Say that again. You did 4.5 hours?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hot and fast.
How big was it?
14 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah.
How hot? 300 degrees?
350. And then once I wrapped it, I think it got up to about 375.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you got to remember with Wagyu, it does cook quicker.
Way quicker.
Because the fat renders quicker. That fat's going to have a little bit of a lower melting point, and it's going to render out much quicker.
Moist, for sure.
But I've heard rumors of the guys on the competition circles pulling their briskets at 198. Right? 200. They're not running 203, 205. They're pulling it early, and it's cooking as it rests in the cooler.
Right.
They're banking for that.
Yeah, because it carries, of course.
Yeah, they're banking for that when they're pulling it off the smoker already. Whereas I'm like 205, we're okay, right? But with the Wagyu, man, and I'll tell you this right now, Chris, no doubt about it. In Canada, KCBS, if someone's cooking with Snake River briskets, you taste it. Just saying.
Yeah,
and I'm not trying to grease any poles or anything. I'm just saying, if you're smuggling American grade Wagyu over the border, the judges notice. Just saying. You know it's there. You're like, oh yeah, Costco. Oh yeah, Costco. Oh yeah. Oh, someone's been traveling a little bit here. There's just like that. You can tell.
I was able to notice too on when I was kind of hanging around the barbecue thing is, that there's teams that for every comp that they would cook 2 Wagyu briskets, they would be able to choose which one they wanted.
Yep.
And they go into some of these comps that are double comps, meaning one Saturday and one Sunday. They're cooking 4 Wagyu briskets.
Yeah.
So that's an investment you have to make when you're doing that. But you can definitely tell the difference just between the way the fat renders and everything. And their competition barbecue team, they did the 4-hour brisket smokes too for their comps. They cooked on the Myron mix and water pan smokers.
Yep.
So they didn't have to worry about them drying out because you still have that moisture from that.
Myron has cornered the market in that. I have to say, those steamer smokers, man, he owns it. It's
right, and he did so well cooking on them himself that you can't argue.
Yeah. Him and his kid have run the numbers completely,
right.
So there's no way to argue that. Yeah.
That's the dream, man, right there. So Wagyu, obviously Japanese Wagyu is the staple, right?
Yes.
And then Australia's done a good job of running. So most of the briskets Wagyu briskets I get are from Australia.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I even think there's a little bit of a Wagyu market from farms in well, you just mentioned it, in the United States. Is there any Wagyu herds up in Canada?
2 or 3. They're Wagyu cross. So Wagyu Holsteins, Wagyu whatever. They're cross, but they're up there. They're not doing A5s, but they're up there.
Yeah. So like Snake River Farm.
By the way, no one's doing Japan's the only one doing true A5s. By the way, I don't care what anyone says.
I mean, so Snake River Farms is American Wagyu, so they're not graded on the A5 scale. What they are is they're crossbreed Wagyu beef with Black Angus, and they have theirs from that way, and they grade theirs out as black, which would be, right above prime, and then their gold grade, which would be the next step up. Wow,
Yeah.
he's got some luscious locks too. And the thing that sets them apart is they slow feed their cattle. Yeah.
Chris, we're listening. Keep talking serious.
No, so they slow feed their cattle, where their cattle are fed more over 500 days, as opposed to some of the other beef places that'll quickly feed their cattle so they can bring them to butcher sooner. And one of the things that I really like about Snake River Farms is they have the biggest herd of American Wagyu, but they take care of the animal the whole way through. So they're involved in the whole process, being as humane as possible and taking it.
They read it a story at night.
Yeah, massage it, and
Yeah.
Do they? I know this is gonna show how drunk I am because I know the answer to this. Is Snake River in Washington? Where are they at?
Boise. Well, they're based out of Boise, Idaho, but I think one of their ranches is actually in Washington. Yeah, one of the ranches is in Washington. I think the Double R Ranch is in Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the Wagyu that we get around here is from. I just went to a really cool butcher shop in Tampa, Florida, when I was going to check on my folks there in Florida, and the entire butcher shop was from Snake River. Can I tell you something, by the way? Secret time? And
yes.
That's a Bert phrase, by the way?
Yes.
So we talked earlier about how there's a barbecue boom with backyard smokers, and how this is kind of like, Mel, you would have to like time it to like, you're going to make smokers, whatever. But this is a very volatile time. It's like how craft beer was 10 to 15 years ago, where people were like, oh, craft beer, what's that? And then now it's like everyone knows what craft beer is, So that's where barbecue, in my mind, is right now.
Yeah.
I think that one of the coolest things, other than barbecue restaurants, is butcher shops.
Yes.
Butcher shops, to me, are right on the precipice of just being like so mainstream, man. And we brought up Madison, Wisconsin earlier. Like, so that's my other thing. I like going on the road and checking out barbecue restaurants, but then I switched and I liked going and checking out butcher shops. Yes. So I went to a really cool, wish I remember the name to give them some promo, but there was a really cool one in Madison. And whenever I go on the road, I like to go and check them out. So wait. Here's the my last point, and then I want to hear your response. Were you just saying the butcher shop in Madison?
Yeah, was it the Conscious Carnivore?
It was something trendy like that. That might have been it. It was like a mile outside downtown. It was like right there. So that sounds kind of familiar.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. When I was growing up, record shops were like popular, and guys who were really into music would go to a record shop and they would thumb through records, and they'd spend an hour there and they'd never actually buy anything. It was just like you'd talk to the expert and you'd talk shop, and that's how I feel about butcher shops now. I love going to a butcher shop, and even if I'm not going to buy anything because I'm like staying in a hotel room and I don't have where to put anything, I just like talking to the butcher. I like seeing why they set up a case a certain way. I like picking their brain on what they think is nice in the case right now. What would, if I was to be, so that to me, like, man, like Costco is hard to beat for the value and the volume that they have. And grocery stores now have pretty good butcher stores, and Whole Foods and Bristol Farms and all these like upscale butcher shops. But a mom and pop butcher shop where you can go in there and really, really talk to the guy, and he doesn't condescend you, and he explains things to you, man, that's money to me, dude.
Dave, if you were in my butcher shop, if I had a beautiful craft butcher shop up here in Edmonton, and you wanted to talk shop, I'd be like, I'm fine with that. but every 20 minutes you got to buy another chimney stick.
Yeah,
I got the Land Jaggers. I made them by hand last night with the beautiful lady with the big boobs in the back. That's my wife, right? And every minute or so, you're going to have to reach out and grab something here. You're going to have to buy something because this is every butcher I know, and this is the sad part about butchering. And I hope that it sucks for us, but it's going to help them. I hope that the fucking cost of everything catches up in the meat department as well. Because those guys are working for nothing right now. Support your local butcher whenever you can. This is Mel's.
Wait. Mel, explain that a little further. Because let's talk about the difference between a local butcher shop and like a Costco, right?
Yes.
I think the butcher shops have done very good right now. Like because people are cooking at home more often, they're going in. They obviously have higher prices than a Costco, and normally during normal times, people couldn't justify spending more money to go to a butcher shop. But right now, since they're cooking at home so much, they want the local knowledge. They want the high quality beef. We were talking about the difference between a snake farm and a normal. So I think the butcher shop's doing really good right now. Am I wrong?
They are, but they're still cutting their throats to try and keep up with the big box stores.
Right.
That's the kickoff, man. To be a journeyman butcher up here in Alberta, which is beef country, like you're not making a ton. It's actually a weird little blurb that we haven't really touched on, especially on the show. But like the local butchers, they need your support, especially now in COVID, right? I'm happy everyone's cooking at home. I'm happy and bug them for sure for information. They're going to give you a wealth of information, but don't be shy to pay a bit. Don't be shy to throw down on like something a bit bigger, something a bit fancier, just to help them out too, right? The butchers themselves, the shop owners, everybody out here especially, man, they're hungry. There's not a ton of money in meat processing. That's just the way it is. Meat processing is not a very sought after job. So the people that are doing it and conveying the proper information, like we should kick them up a notch whenever possible. I support my local butchers whenever. That old 96er, right, came from Acme Meat Market. That was a Wagyu 96-ounce steak cut just the way John Candy would have liked it. That came from Jeff Donay up here in Alberta, and he hand-fed that cow. It's amazing when this kind of stuff, like, I knew what went into making that steak. You better believe I treated that steak with the utmost respect right through to the YouTube video. My heart was in it 100%. I felt that steak from start to finish, and they were so happy with it. And it wasn't like to sell more. They were just happy to see what I did with it. So whenever possible, man, I totally support your local butcher because they're just grinding like everybody else.
Yeah. So two things on this subject. One is, to Mel's point with COVID, is these restaurants aren't out there with their demand for the meat. So there's a surplus of that meat that's on the market. And it's not the meat that's coming from the local butchers. It's that surplus of meat goes to your grocery stores, your Costco's, your other chains, and they're able to sell it lower so that all of a sudden your local butcher can't keep up with those prices. So that's where they're hurting because of the surplus of, the more affordable cuts, the more affordable meat that's out there. So some people are like, well, if I can get, a choice ribeye for $5.99 a pound, why am I going to go pay $11.99 a pound for, at a butcher shop? Yeah. On the flip side, being from Wisconsin, where we have a very, there's a lot of cattle in Wisconsin, there's a lot of farming, there's also a lot of hunting that goes on. We have quite a few little of those mom and pop craft butcher shops / meat processing places. So, almost every city is going to have one of their, this is where we bring our deer. So, and on top of having, their cases that are lined with all their homemade sausages of all the different types that they have, their hot sticks. They'll have their Land Jaegers that are smoked, their homemade bacons. But then they also, that's where they bring their venison too. So, our mom and pop butcher shops also make a fair amount of saying, okay, they're going to bring their deer, drop their deer off, and we're going to turn it into andouille sausage, venison bacon. We're going to cut it down to steaks, grind some up for you, and make jalapeno and cheddar smoked sausage too. So up here, that's kind of what we find is we get these butcher shops / meat processing plants, and that's how they are able to kind of continue to expand.
Yep. Oh, 100%.
Yeah, okay. So I'll tell you a few things based off of what you just said. One, my earliest memory of cooking any sort of any sort of a real cook was when I was in college. I had a propane grill that I bought at a garage sale, right? It's a little piece of shit grill that I bought at a garage sale. And my uncle lived an hour and a half from me in Georgia, and he was an avid hunter. So he had a really good summer one year, and he had a bunch of venison in the freezer. So I went to go visit, and they loaded me up with venison, right? Ground beef, whatever, hindquarters. So I had this hindquarters. So it was basically a whole leg of a deer. And I'm 19, 20 years old, and I go, Uncle Jack, how do I cook this? And he goes, all right. You stab a bunch of holes in it. You shove some onions and garlic in those holes. He's like, you rub it down with some minced garlic. He's like, you fire up the grill. You put a water pan down. You throw it in there, and you cook it until it's done. And I go, okay. I don't know shit about cooking, right? So I had these hindquarters. So I remember this distinctly. Several times I did this, where it was like game day, Auburn versus LSU or Auburn versus Alabama, big game day, right? So we'd be partying the night before. We'd be up all night drinking, partying. I'd set an alarm clock for 8 a.m. I wake up at 8 a.m. I crank up the propane grill. I make a pan out of tinfoil so it would fit the entire smoker. Or not, it wasn't even a smoker, it was a grill. Excuse me.
Yep.
And I'd fill it with water and butter. And I do everything he said, and I throw the entire deer leg in the pan, right? And then I go back to bed. And then I wake up at noon, and I throw more water and butter in it, and I'd close the lid back up, and then I'd start drinking, and then we go tailgate, and we go to the game, and then I would have to find somebody who lived on my street who wasn't going to the game, and I'd be like, hey, man, go by my house at halftime and throw water in the pan. That's all you got to do. So I'd find someone to do that. And then normally my propane grill was so small, it would run out of propane right at the right time. So it would run out of propane. We'd go partying after the game, celebrating the victory. We'd go back to my house. It's like 4 p.m. at that point. And it had been cooling on my grill. Every time it was perfect. We'd slice it. And we'd have a feast, all these college kids just eating venison. And I got so lucky. Now no understanding what I was doing. I just got so lucky that it came out perfect every time. So
that sounds like me in my winemaking days,
great.
Man. In my winemaking
sometimes you gotta get a little lucky.
In my winemaking days, I had
lucky the good any day.
In my winemaking days, I had like 12 carboys lined up in the basement, and everything was way past its prime, and everything was like doubled down with everything, and everything's like 22 proof or 30 proof, right? And that's how we used to do it. Double oak, double sugar, double everything, right? Wait until it drops right down into the thing. Okay, wine's ready, and then pump it out, give it a quick filter, and then everybody's like, tarps off, boys. Like it was fantastic. Mel used to make gallons and gallons.
Time to make some Waffle House hash browns.
Yeah, that's it, buddy. Back in the day, I took the door out of my very first house. We had a door with a side window. We ripped it out one day with a truck and then carried the hot tub into the dining room and then put the door back in. I'm not even lying, man.
Beautiful.
We ripped the whole door frame and everything out to get the hot tub in the house, and then we put the door frame back in. It was so good. And that was back in Mel's winemaking days. That was, yeah.
Who's Mad Moose Barbecue?
There's a lot of people on here, really neat people, mostly YouTube people. They come and swipe in, and they're neat. They all have their own channels. They do a lot of, barbecue stuff. We had Trumpo in here earlier.
Hey, very cool.
Yeah.
We had Trump in here earlier.
Trumpo King. He does
Trump steaks?
Yes. Yeah, there you go. We had George Bush Jr.
I gotta go.
Yeah.
George W. Bush.
George W. Bush. That's the one. Yeah, that's. Yeah.
So the other thing. I know I got ahead of myself. Man, I'm feeling it now, guys. We've been drinking, and I haven't had dinner tonight. You guys probably had dinner, and then we started this. I was before dinner, and now my family. I'm looking at the window at my house, and I saw them have dinner without me. So I haven't eaten since lunch, and now I'm a couple whiskeys and a couple beers in.
Yes.
And I have to pee again. But I'm still going, man. What's the record for this? What's the longest you've ever gone?
This is it.
Yeah, we've had some long ones, but that one Canadian one I did went for like 4 hours or something. But that one got.
I'm not gonna make 4 hours.
Yeah,
we're at 2 hours.
That one got
and 40
deleted.
minutes.
That was
I'm only gonna make it a little bit longer too. It's 10:40 here.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let's finish strong. So we talked about the butcher shops, the Wagyu. There was something else I was going to bring up that was important to me, and I don't even remember. I got fucking sidetracked with the whole
venison.
I don't know. I had 2 or 3 things I was going to roll on, guys, and I forgot.
Restaurants with COVID.
Let's shoot for another. Restaurants with COVID. Well, yeah, that's a big deal. Let's shoot for another like 10 minutes, and then let's finish strong. I'm gonna pee one more time. I'm gonna. You guys talk amongst yourself. Listen,
yes.
Let's dedicate ourselves to 8 to 10 minutes for everyone that's still listening. Okay.
Done
I'm gonna pee. While I'm peeing, you guys come up with a game plan for the next 8 to 10 minutes. Let's finish.
Don't pee on camera because Chris will call you out. I've done that.
Oh.
He's about
listen, I'm in the entertainment industry. I've made this mistake many. Listen, I've made that mistake before where I had my mic live and I thought I was off camera, and I'm like,
Yeah.
So I'm muting my mic, and I'm not even going to go in my house. I'm going to go around the corner to my bush that I pee in my front yard.
Hey, Chris, remember this?
Yeah.
Remember this?
That happened.
Yeah, that happened. Remember? Yeah. And then you were like, "Wait, did you just pee in a jar?"
It was more like this. You just all of a sudden just leaned forward and.
That never happened. Jesus, that never happened.
Oh.
How you doing, Chris? Is everything okay over there? Yeah,
everything is okay. Starting to get a little sleepy time. It's almost 11 o'clock.
No, I hear you. The wife is probably going bananas. What time?
Oh, she's in bed already.
9:45. Yeah, it's already. Yep.
But yeah, so we got to think of something to just end with a bang, but it's got to be shorter because obviously, if it's something we're passionate about, it's going to go longer than 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Gosh.
So before we did this, I had an Angry Whopper.
Yeah.
The Angry King, I guess. Burger King is selling the Angry King right now, so I went and got one of those.
Okay.
And then just to finish it off, I got a full-size Donair.
So the Whopper was a snack.
So let me tell you about like Carb City. I went to Carb City hard before I had this show.
Yeah.
The wife was like, "So you're good for a while then?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm good till lunch tomorrow now." There's no more eating. Chris, my weight is like, my body wants to be 305 pounds.
Uh-huh.
I don't know why. It doesn't want to be less than that. And it doesn't want to be more than that. If I mistreat it heavily and I feed it like 17 briskets on the weekend, and I also eat all the dim sum and the deep fried and everything, it's like 305 is fine. We're not going to go any more than 305. We're just, and I'm like, well, if I eat salads and I punish myself and I hate myself inside, and I eat a lot of fruits and I like, not jog, but I like strut to my truck or whatever, right? Like there's that shit. And my body's like, Now you're 305, but I'm angry at you.
You might as well
So
just.
what do I do? Really?
Do you mind me asking, Mel? What are you at right now? Do you mind me asking?
305. And
Oh, okay. Hey, that's right. 305. 305 is the area code. I grew up Miami. 305. That's cool.
That's it. That's it. It's a weird thing. Like it just wants to be there, and it wants me to be happy there.
All right. So, do you guys have a good topic to end on? Because I have one. If you don't have one,
Go for it.
Give her.
all right. Here we go. This is what we're ending on, boys. The three of us are going to give a pitch. Are you ready? Let's say TV. Let's say Netflix or a TV studio or a production company came to you and they go, "Hey, man, we love what you do. We're going to give you $1 gazillion to make whatever barbecue themed TV show you want. What's your pitch? What's the show?" Mel. Well,
Endangered
Chris,
animals. Endangered animals. That's what hey, you want clickbait? Guess what? We're doing endangered animals in whatever country we're in. That's it. You want to go to Madagascar? We're cooking the radiated tortoise upside down over the fire. That's it. You want to go deep south in Mexico? We're cooking blue-nosed bottle dolphin. That's it. We're doing it.
I like it. All right. I get it.
That's it.
All right, so it's like what's endangered here? They tell you what's endangered. You go, we're gonna catch it, kill it, and smoke it.
It's like watching Survivor. And the first thing they do in the title sequence, they show iguanas. I'm like, eat the fucking iguana. Quit bitching, right? You got one cup of rice between 12 of you. Eat the fucking iguana. Like, who said you couldn't eat the iguana?
Okay.
You're in Fiji. Shoot it with a whatever and eat it.
Well,
full bullshit. Full bullshit.
So the show I like to watch is Alone. Have you guys watched Alone?
Yep.
I actually fished in a lot of the inlets. I fished a lot of inlets in that show. A lot of my family comes from Vancouver Island. Just so you know.
I believe it. I would not be surprised if I was watching the show Alone and you just popped in and was like, I'm just here for the weekend. So, but that's the way I feel when I'm watching Alone, because now they're up in the Arctic. And one of the things that they always say is like the foxes, they're not allowed to kill the foxes because they're in danger. And I'm like, man, if I was that hungry, I would kill the fox, eat it, and then just not put it on video. Because they film all their own stuff themselves.
Is this fox between me and $500,000? And there's nobody here to calm me at night? Like I'm gonna eat the fox. I'm sorry.
I'd be like, stop recording and let's eat a little food.
So
I actually had.
I knocked my camera into this.
Yeah. Oh, my camera's facing a tree right now. But I had Barry from season 6. I had Barry from season 6 on my podcast, and I was super interested to talk to him about, because he killed some wild game. Oil's on there, and he ate it and whatever. And so, but I just figured there was a lot of shit they didn't show us. So I'm like, hey, Barry, so on the show, we saw you eat, whatever it was, 2 hares and some fish, and you killed whatever else you killed, a squirrel. I'm like, what else did you kill that we didn't see? He goes, oh, that was it. And I go, oh, my God, dude, you must have been starving if that's all you. Like, I just thought there was shit they didn't show us, So now the guy who just won the most recent episode, Rollin, I reached out to him, and I think I'm going to have him on soon. But he killed a muskox with a knife. Mm-hmm. He just rushed it like he was like a bully in high school and just fucking stabbed it, and he ran back behind a tree before they could attack him. So I can't wait to have him on there, because this dude killed some serious fucking game. So, Chris, if someone gave you $1 gazillion and told you could have your own barbecue TV show, what's your pitch?
Man, so I like. Here's what I would do. So I'm a big sports fan, and tailgating is huge up in Wisconsin, and with college sports too. I think it would be fun to go around to different places where they tailgate, kind of see the local tailgate, but then there would be like a chops type competition where you would have to go to different people's tailgates, ask them for ingredients, and you get different ingredients from all these different people. Then you'd have to go back to your grill station and make something with 7 random people's different ingredients and, turn out a cool dish. Doesn't have to necessarily be a tailgate dish. Could be more of a fancy dish or something that's a little, that you wouldn't expect, like a chopped type show, but you're at a tailgate, at a sporting event, cooking their local food that you stole from somebody.
Awesome. Love it.
That
Anything
sounds
with
great.
Sports is cool to me, man, where you mix it and
I love it, but my bacon wrap.
Yeah, I like that.
My bacon wrapped Penguins are gonna win. Just saying. Don't care. My bacon wrapped Penguins are gonna win. Just saying. That's.
I like it. And just on a side note, something I didn't bring up earlier, but I recently did bacon wrapped meatloaf from scraps, and I never smoked the meatloaf before, and I've been dying to do it. And I had a ton of ground beef because I went in on a cow with a bunch of guys. So here, my buddy, this guy I know from college, I haven't talked to him in years, and he hits me up and goes, "Hey, I know you're really into meat, and you live in LA. I live in San Diego now." He goes, "I want to buy a cow, but I need 8 guys to go in on it." So 8 of us went in on a cow together from Colorado. This guy drove the cow down from Colorado. And so the way we did it was like a fantasy football draft. We drew names out of a hat. And so we had the order, and we did a snake draft on all the cuts of meat. So it was like number 1 took the brisket, number 2 took the tenderloins, number 3 took the ribeyes, and you just go as a steak draft. And we drafted a whole cow. It was really fun. Right?
That's awesome.
So it was great. So I have a ton of ground beef from that. So I did the meatloaf finally. I never smoked the meatloaf. I've been dying to do it. It was great. If anyone wants the recipe I followed for a smoked meatloaf, just message me and I'll send it to you because it came out really good. So parting thoughts before we hit 3 hours, and I need to go have dinner with my family. Yes. I think if I was going to do a TV show, I think it would be cool to do something where you have everything to do with the smoke from start to finish. So like Mel would be a great candidate for this, by the way. So you'd follow someone like Mel, and he would build a smoker, and then he would go out and hunt the meat, and then he would butcher the meat, and then he would cook the meat, and then he would serve the meat to his friends or family or whatever. And you'd follow someone who had every aspect of that food from start to finish, from cooking the smoker, sourcing the rub, all that shit, all of it. I think that would be cool.
We could call it Buffalo Mel.
Buffalo Mel, Mullet Mel's. So, all right, guys, tattoos up. Everyone throw their tattoos up to finish on. Throw your tattoos.
There. Hey! All right, I got you.
We've been doing it for 3 hours. It's been a good time. We appreciate everyone for watching. Thank you for commenting. I don't know. There's probably only 2 people still watching, but we had a fun time. Thank you, everybody.
Hey, one more callback.
Meet Dave podcast at Dave W Comedy on Instagram.
Had a blast, brother. This was awesome.
This was fun. We'll have to have you on again.
Heck yeah, man. That's good.
You guys are awesome, man. Thank you so much.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers, guys. This will wrap up another episode of #AfterTheCook. Join us next week, 8 o'clock live on @Dark Side of the Girls YouTube channel. We will be having Will from @HookedOnBarbecue. He'll be here to talk about seafood, grilling. We'll probably chat about bourbon and maybe our Peloton group that we've been working out together.
Done deal, man. Have a good one.
Have a good one.